Here underneath. Want to go
Heather
underneath?
Hettinger
Or do you want to
from
go
Traverse City. She's
on
a
top?
fish
Want to go
biologist
underneath?
up there.
I guess we
Matt
can go up here, it's
Diana
fine.
from Plainwell. He's also a fish biologist. Want to thank Commissioner Walters for asking us to talk about this.
Touch fingers.
Centarchids actually represent the most
Tony,
popular
hop in
and
here.
accessible fish
Hey
in
guys, we're
Michigan.
live.
These are our bass.
My mistake.
bluegills,
I
pumpkin
thought it was
seeds.
9:30, but it was 9 o'clock today. So
excited to
fiasco.
talk about it, and I'll turn it over to Heather.
Audio. Someone does. Skeeter needs that for sure.
Yeah, no kidding.
So it looks like we're doing some fish stuff. I'll turn it up so you can hear it maybe a little bit, Brent. Here.
Just pass it back. Okay. There we go. That's a little better.
Looks like they're having.
Okay. So what are
difficulties, too.
centarchids and why is their management important here in Michigan? So to kind of define centarchids a little bit, when we say the term centarchids, we're referring to a family of fish that includes the sunfishes. So here in Michigan, that's species like bluegill and pumpkin seeds, crappie, rock bass, and you'll hear us refer to black bass. Black bass is a collective term for smallmouth and largemouth together. And as Jay alluded to,
interesting. I never knew that.
These panfish and black bass are super highly sought after.
So we're still getting set up here.
So when we go back and we look through our creel data,
stuff.
we look at summertime creel data, 95% of the fish that people harvest, take home, are panfish. Matt's going to talk a little bit later about a 2022 panfish survey that we did. It was a targeted panfish survey. 86% of the respondents to that survey indicated that they were specifically targeting panfish. So super popular fishery. A lot of that has to do with accessibility. We kind of joke in fisheries division that panfish, especially bluegill, are like the gateway fish. If you took a poll of us in the room, you know, how many of us, our first fish was a bluegill, it would be overwhelming, right? And a lot of that has to do with the fact that if you've got a body of water, if you've got an inland lake, or a good shoreline, the odds are good.
Gotcha.
You're
Cool.
going
Yeah,
to
I can
catch
see that now.
panfish and bass.
So
they're super highly accessible. They're excellent table fare. You know, they are the subject of many a Friday night fish fry in the summer in Michigan. So people are targeting them for table fare. They create year-round fisheries, essentially. You know, we see a ton of open water effort for bass and panfish. Wintertime, when we've got good ice available to fish, we see a lot of panfish activity, so they're a broad resource to utilize. And we know the popularity of bass tournaments in Michigan is huge. I have 2024 data on the slide here, but the 2025 data is very, very similar. The pattern is that we routinely see over 2,500 tournaments take place in the state of Michigan, over 300 bodies of water. And they generate almost 60,000 angler days of effort. So bass tournaments are proven to be a very popular activity here. So when we talk about centarchids, when we talk about panfish and bass, there's a lot of overlapping management issues, and I should have added strategies to that too. Our most important strategy that we utilize in fisheries division is what we call status and trend surveys. So status and trend surveys are a very specifically formatted survey. We conduct these surveys using very specific gear types, net types, and electrofishing equipment. We conduct them on bodies of water during specific timeframes and water temperatures. And the goal with that is to target, for the most part, panfish and bass, and be able to have good, consistent data to evaluate those populations. We know within lakes that populations can vary, that our management goals can vary. And utilizing these status and trend methodologies gives us a good way to actually sit down and
is that thing right there that the gentleman is holding. Yeah, no, it doesn't have horns.
We have limited regulatory options when it comes to these two species. Not saying that is a good or a bad thing, but when it comes to using regulations to manage these two species, for the most part, we're working within the confines of a statewide regulation, whether it's a statewide minimum size limit or a statewide bag limit. Currently, we have no management plans or statewide strategies for either of these two groups of fish.
Yeah, if we want trophy fish and trophy bucks, we go out of state. That's what we were told.
And one of the critical things here with these fish is they have significant periods of time where they have overlapping habitat.
It's just 1 year out.
And what also comes with that is they have overlapping issues that affect both groups of fishes concurrently.
Not at all.
Some of those issues that we're seeing is increased nearshore development and thus the
even though
increased loss
Michigan's
of
fishery,
littoral zone or nearshore zone
puts
habitat, which is
anything
critical
else
for both
sportsman
groups of
related
fish.
in Michigan.
And along with
to
that, we're
shame.
seeing some impacts
So
from
then you
aquatic
deer boys
vegetation
are always
treatments
complaining, no, they always put
that
so
are
much money
occurring
into
in our
the
inland
fish.
lakes.
It's because we're successful.
So a little bit of a history here.
But do you get the return on that fish?
So
as
after
well
some
as
pretty
deer?
significant conversations
Yes,
with
actually, because there's
bass
actually people that
interested
travel from out
groups
of
and
state that come
constituents
here.
in the
Actually, target
2020,
these sport fish.
2021
More
era,
than 24,000 people.
we decided to
Oh, yeah.
establish
Okay.
a
So
black
that's why I
bass
think we have
committee in
24,000
2022.
non-resident deer tags get
These
sold.
two
Is
groups
that
of
it?
fish are
Yeah, that's
some
all.
of the few species we
I
have
wonder
that we
what-
don't
did-
have
is there a way- is there a place where
individualized
they
committees
publish
for,
the,
work groups for.
fishing license?
And I was appointed
But
chair
I'm
of that
sure
committee
the
at that
numbers are
time.
greater because of like
Concurrently,
even, like,
Matt was
Erie
having
and,
conversations
but
around
I'd imagine that
panfish.
they can use. Where's the cutoff?
And
for,
he was
like, the
having discussions
Ohio-
about a sunfish management plan and
So
some other
that's a good
biologists.
question. I actually don't know
Had
what
some
the cutoffs are for
projects
like
that
the
they
big
wanted
lake
to
type
develop
stuff.
around sunfish.
That's a little
So
out
he's
of my realm.
having this conversation,
and I should
and
look
what led
into it
from
'cause that would be
that
helpful
was
to know.
an
But
issue statement to management
like a
team
prime
about
example though
developing
for
a
like the
sunfish
Peon, the
committee
Pure
in
Marquette,
2023.
like people travel from
Matt and
out
I
of
started having
country to come
conversations.
and fish that river.
We
try to
were
get a hold of a
realizing the
native,
overlaps with
quote
these
unquote
two
native
groups,
fish out of that
and
river.
specifically the overlap in staff interest.
And that's just wild to me.
Obviously
Like,
these I just discussed.
again,
These
like,
the Centrarchids have very
for
similar
myself, like growing
issues
up
that they're
fishing,
facing, and we
like,
had staff
you know,
members who wanted to be on both
having a
committees. So for the sake
cabin on the
of
river, having a
efficiency,
pond
both
in your
biologically
backyard, like,
and with staff
it's
time,
just
we
a
brought
fish.
forth
Like having
the idea to
everybody
management
that you
team
know
to
has a
develop
boat
a
that can go on
single
the big lake
Centrarchid
and,
committee.
you know, going
Here we
out
are.
as a kid.
Yeah, as a
Mm-hmm.
resident in Michigan, it's very, very easy to take for granted what we have here.
Yeah.
family.
And
Yes,
I talk
they
about
are.
that with my
Yep.
daughter all the time
Now we're
because we live across the
including
street
all
from
those.
a small lake. And
Yep,
like,
everything
I'm like,
I
how
rattled
long
off
does
in
it
the
take to
beginning
get
there.
to the lake?
Bluegill, pumpkin seed,
minute?
crappie,
And
rock
then how long
bass,
to get to the
smallmouth,
big lake? It's
largemouth.
like
Everybody's housed
5
in
minutes,
the
10
same
minutes.
committee now.
It's like,
Yep.
how many lakes do we have to
So
pass
that
to
committee
get
process.
to the big lake? And it's
the
just,
Centrarchid committee is an
you know,
internal
the
committee.
things that we
And
actually
so
take
we've
for
got
granted
representation
is
from biologists like Matt and
incredible.
myself. We
And
have
when you really
field
think about
technicians that are out there doing the
what
survey
we have
efforts.
here,
We have some
it's
of our
amazing.
research staff and specialized
Yeah,
staff participating.
and one of those things that
about a dozen of us
it really
altogether
brings
that
it
are
home for me
working on this
is
committee
so
right
like we
now.
have steelhead here in Michigan.
The
And everyone
products
out
that we
west,
develop at that
on the west
internal
coast, like,
committee
oh, you
then
guys
go
don't
forth
actually
to
have
Warm
steelhead, those
Water
are just
Resources
rainbows
Steering Committee.
because they never touch salt
And that
water.
committee provides
And it's
us,
like,
it's
okay,
an
cool.
internal and external committee.
Your population
And
is
so it
dwindling
provides us
so
a really
much
good
that they're probably going to
opportunity
be
to
going away.
vet some of the products
in the
that
near
are coming
future.
out of the
But yeah,
Centrarchid
here we
committee,
are with a very
and gives us
successful
an
fishery for
opportunity
it.
to really get
And
some
you guys are complaining
technical
about,
review
oh, they
and
never
some
hit saltwater,
broader
so they're not real
stakeholder
steelhead.
group and,
It's like, get out of
angler
here.
input.
We're maintaining our
And then, of course,
population
a
very
lot of
well
our
compared to
staff
what you guys
are
are
also
doing.
continuing to
And
have
you're gonna sit here and
conversations
nitpick
with
at us
additional
about
stakeholder
how,
groups, whether it be
saltwater, they didn't
individual
touch it.
anglers,
Even though if you look up the
tournament
definition,
directors,
it's just a
bass
migratory
associations,
fish.
those kinds of things.
And our steelhead, they migrate.
Yeah.
So
So we had some discussions last summer about this MUCC resolution that you see here.
So what do you know anything about this resolution?
And
Tony?
so even though MUCC is no longer a partnering organization with us,
just I don't
Fisheries
pay
Division,
attention
we
to the
and
panfish
the
stuff too much
Centrarchid Committee
because
especially feels very strict.
it's kind of like me asking you, do you pay attention to the rabbit population stuff?
No, because we
yeah.
have plenty of that.
Yeah,
But,
because
the first meeting you went to with me, didn't they have a panfish discussion last year? Were you here for that meeting last year?
I wasn't here for that meeting last
But I remember
year. No.
this is like a continued thing. They've talked about this a couple times.
Oh yeah, and it's going to be a continued thing because, again, the fisheries in Michigan, it's very, very important to the DNR because that's one of the biggest revenues that we have.
All right, here's some accomplishments to see what they're talking about.
Well, you'll remember when we first came and presented to you, we had just had our initial committee meeting back in February. At that point in time, we sat down and we wrote our guidance document, our terms of references. We identified which staff members we wanted to have involved in this committee and who was
Yep.
interested in participating in the committee.
It was last year.
We came and
2025.
spoke with you all back in May.
Yep.
After
didn't make
that,
one.
that MUCC resolution that you just saw was brought forth to us. We spent some time working with them and Warm Water Resources Steering Committee to kind of figure out what that was going to look like. We met again in November of 2025, and the focus of that particular meeting was to start moving forward on our sunfish management plan. We sat down and developed some charges Matt solicited
be a
a
Skeeter thing.
smaller subset of us to work as an
Skeeter's
internal
off to the
committee to
side.
begin drafting this document.
Yeah, the sidebar.
Throughout the year, we've also assisted in several broader Centrarket issues. We worked with you,
You know, I am kind
on
of happy that they
language
are
for
focusing
a
on the
bass
panfish
amendment here a few
population, and they
months
are
ago.
like
We
putting big interest
helped
into
conduct a
the
juvenile
stocking programs
bass
for it and
survey
everything.
on
Because, like
Burt
you were
Lake
saying in the
back
beginning,
in, I believe it was
like,
October.
what was your first fish you caught?
And
Panfish.
we
Your
have
first fish,
drafted some
panfish.
subsequent
Adam, I'm
documents
sure
based
your
on the
fish,
results
first
of
fish was a
that survey
panfish.
work.
So
We continue to be
obviously, this is
involved
the
with the
gateway
North
drug
Central
to the
Division
fishing
of the
lifelong
American Fisheries
problem.
Society
Small game
Centrarket Committee.
fishing.
Yeah, small
They
game
also
fishing,
hold
you
a
know.
Centrarket
I would
committee, and it's
imagine,
a
like,
broad committee
now
with
this-
representation
it may
from
actually
all
be
the states and
changing, at least
provinces
around
within the
by
North Central Division.
me,
So some of the Plain
because
States,
it may be a
Midwest, Upper
goby.
Midwest, and
Oh,
a couple
yeah.
of Canadian
The goby's a
provinces.
new thing. Yeah,
Gives
they
us
were
a really
talking
good
about gobies
opportunity
last year.
to
I mean, because if you were to
share
go, like,
ideas,
off
look
of,
at
like,
some of the
the
literature that's
North
come out of their
Muskegon
survey
Pier, like,
work,
They're
around the
bad.
rocks,
discuss what's
like,
worked in other states
And they eat
to
the
help
eggs or
us guide
something,
our
right? Isn't that the
decisions when it
problem
comes
with
to
the
survey
gobies?
They
planning.
eat everything.
Yeah.
And then just
Yeah.
recently, Matt had an
They're eating, like, a
opportunity
lot of,
to
like,
speak
the-
at the Warm Water
the
Resources
habitat,
Steering Committee
right?
back in May,
Yeah.
and kind of get the
Like,
wheels
they're,
turning on the
They're-
draft
what they eat
of that
primarily is like the
sunfish
tiny
management
little
plan and get
insects and stuff that are
their
in the
thoughts
water,
and
but they literally just mow everything.
They smell everything.
Yeah, they don't really, they're not very picky. They're not like you. You know?
Yeah, no.
Dino nuggets don't float around in the water, so.
All right, bass. This is kind of important.
Well, depending on who you ask. But no, the bass and panfish for me, they kind of go hand
Go
in
hand
hand.
in hand, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know whether or not.
You paused
Oh,
it,
I
dog.
paused it, big dummy. It's like, what's going on
committee-wise within the
Now we're
Centrarket
gonna be
Committee
off
into
30
bass and
seconds.
sunfish.
Yep.
So with
We're gonna be
bass,
sitting here
you know,
on a
we're
podcast
a
for an
lot of our
hour
work
after the
centers
meeting's done
around regulations and seasons. As I mentioned, we for the most part have one statewide harvest opener when it comes to bass. There are a couple of notable exceptions: Lake St. Clair and the Beaver Island Archipelago. And we have, you know, one statewide
Trusty Hero, what's happening,
minimum
man?
size limit, with the exception of a few inland lakes that we're actively monitoring with a 10-inch minimum size limit. We have a increased opportunity in the past 10 years that we've created with the addition of a year-round catch and immediate release season. And of course, as I mentioned, our tournament popularity in Michigan is pretty significant. And we've got the tournament registration, which gives tournament registration system, which gets us a lot of that
we're doing a
information that we
podcast
didn't
over top
historically
of the
know
live
about the
stream.
popularity of said tournaments.
Yeah.
When it comes to sunfish, we have fairly liberal harvest regulations. You know, we don't have a minimum size. We have an aggregate bag limit. We do know in Michigan that our growth on most panfish is hugely density dependent. So the number of fish in a particular
you,
body
Bryan?
of
You're
water
supposed to
utilizing
tackle her
the
down.
resources dictates how fast or how slow these fish are going to grow. That's a pretty important factor for us to consider.
What are you doing, man?
We know that
Once they start talking
harvest
deer,
is a pretty
you come
important
take my
management
seat, and then
tool
I
when
do
it comes
security.
to panfish due to that density dependent growth.
Okay, so
We
right
also know that they
here.
can be easily subjected to
So we're
overharvest,
talking,
so
I
that's
gotta be
something we
about
want
here.
to closely monitor as well.
And then when we're not talking, I got to be about
And we
here.
talk a fair bit, and anglers
Hear the
talk a
difference?
fair bit about
Huge difference.
reduced size
Here,
structure,
want me to
kind of
get my knife
stunting
and
when it
mark
comes
that
to
Yeah,
for you?
make
panfish
it work for me.
populations. That ties back to that
So what-
density dependent growth issue.
Do you
And
think,
reproductive
I guess I missed
practices.
it. Do you know what the goal
most
is for
panfish
these
are,
fish? Like, do we feel like as a
nest
whole they're
habitat spawners,
being,
and so as such, they're
like, the
hugely
population of the
reproductively
panfish and the
successful
bass
in
is
our bodies of
decreasing, so
water.
that's why they're making
And
this
so that
change?
leads
I don't
back
think it's actually decreasing. I think maybe the size of the bass and the panfish are decreasing, but they're trying to nip it in the butt before we have a problem. Kind of like our doe population.
Yeah.
We never nipped it in the butt. We just continued to let it get worse and worse and worse.
Yep.
So I've noticed that a lot with the fishery stuff, where they nip it in the butt quick.
Yeah. Because they have the data to back up the nip in the butt.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, because that's the other big thing too with the fishery stuff is, so I have a guide license, so I'm a mandatory reporter. So each
Yep.
month I have to report on how many guides I did, how many fish I caught, what species, how big, things along those lines. And then it's the same thing with spearfishing. So if you get the spearfishing license, you are automatically a mandated reporter, and I believe it's through the same facts DNR website where you have to go through and report, even if you didn't do a guide or if you didn't go spearfishing at all, you still have to go and report 0 for that month.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they just revamped all that website stuff and everything too, and it works pretty dang well.
That's important. I mean, that's what we need for deer is more data.
and
Yeah,
numbers
data.
in order to increase the.
I'm willing to bet China probably has more data on our deer population than our government does.
Essentially, all those weather
and their
balloons.
enjoyment of it.
For real.
So,
All right, so they're kind of
when we
talking about
brought the
survey
idea
here.
of looking at experimental regulations, the idea of protecting larger
talking about
fish,
experimental
shifting size
regulations.
structures towards larger fish, reducing densities of overpopulated small fish, and like Heather said,
Impacts it's not necessarily
growth,
that the
doesn't allow
population
fish
is
to grow as
shrinking;
well.
it's
So
the fish
when we
itself
started
is
looking
actually
at those
shrinking.
things,
Okay.
the question
So we're not
became,
giving them
is there
ample
interest
time to
from the
grow,
Michigan
and that could
public
be
in
an issue
following
where
those
they're
types
planting
of
too many fish
regulatory
per
structures to try to
lake.
remove panfish?
Okay.
Or are they
So
happy
there's
with
not
things the
enough
way they
nutrition
are?
to go around.
And so we
Gotcha.
started off with
Or it could be the fact that
angler survey
Michigan
and
fishers
tried
are
to get
just
an idea of what
really
the
We have
Michigan
4
anglers
people.
really wanted to see in sunfish management.
We can
And,
slide over Brian too.
I've
if you
talked
wanna
about
hop
this
in,
before, so
whoever.
I'm not going to go into the nitty gritty details on all the results, but the
see what he said.
overarching kind of results was there was a strong support for the idea of doing more quality panfish management in Michigan. Anglers were very supportive of the idea of using experimental regulations or restrictive regulations in places where it made sense. They didn't want regulations to be changed statewide because
Lift it up.
one of the good things about panfish
Yeah. You
regulations
wanna
the way they
slide
are
that
is
way
you
a
can
little
harvest
bit?
enough
So if we
fish.
get a fourth
You can create
person in
fish
here, we
fries,
can.
you can do things like that. We don't want to
Skeeter,
impact the
how
ability
much room's on
for
your
people
right
to
side?
harvest enough fish.
We
to
can
get
do
a good
4
meal.
that way.
Twist
And
this.
those kind of results were kind of the overwhelming opinions that came out of the survey work. So, but with that in mind, there was a need for managing bluegill and panfish populations more specifically on lakes where we saw stunting, overharvest, basically lakes dominated by small fish that really weren't attractive to harvest. So,
I think we stink, Nate.
but there was
Skeeter's, like, way
definitely,
he's always gonna
we
have
talked
extra
about how
strategy.
bluegill
Yeah,
and
he's always got
panfish
that
are an
extra strategy.
introductory fishery, and there definitely is concern about
people to
complicating
talk to.
regulations,
Yes,
making
you
this
do.
introductory, making a bigger barrier to an introductory fishery. So that's something
Working
that
my
we're
life
very
away.
aware of and very sensitive to
That's
when we're
good.
talking about potential
Keep working,
regulations or
Jake.
potential
Yeah,
management
keep working.
strategies
We
for
need new
panfish.
things all the time.
Yep, keep making stuff.
Make
And
some fishing
So
stuff, would you?
with all of those results
I'm waiting
from the
for one of you
survey
3D
and
printing
all of
guys
those
to start
questions
making
we
some fishing stuff.
identified, it became clear that we
Tackle
needed a
box
strategy
organizers.
for how to do this. It
Make
involved
it for Milwaukee
going through
because
the
all my
background,
tackle boxes
seeing
are
what other
Milwaukee
states are
pack out
doing,
boxes. So
understanding
keep
what
it in that
panfish management
direction.
might be appropriate for Michigan, and outlining
Yeah,
a
make sure you
management
get the
strategy.
artwork.
And so our committees talked a lot about this,
Twist that.
and
You can-
basically
the demo
developed
can go down.
the best way to do that was to develop a sunfish management plan,
You got
which would
this.
very strictly outline all of those things. And we moved forward with
Right.
trying to
Impossible.
make progress
It's
on that.
not
So
possible.
that process is officially being
It would
initiated.
have to be like right
We've
here.
developed a subcommittee of folks like me who are really passionate about getting
Come on.
panfish populations managed well. And
I can
we're
see my crotch.
working together to try to put together an outline that'll really form the framework for what that plan looks like. So far in development of the plan, we have a draft outline. We've met with staff that are working really hard on some of the invasive species issues, especially invasive vegetation management in Michigan. I think they presented.
So it sounds like they have.
Places.
I have
I'm
that
not sure
tiny
about the
tripod.
NRC specifically,
It sounds
but
like so. This Tony,
they've been
you're,
looking
like
very closely
they're just
at what do
presented
we know
data
about
that there's a
vegetation,
need for a committee to be
communities in our
formed.
lakes, how they're
Like they're
being
trying to, like,
managed by
push the narrative
aquatic
that they need to
treatment
do
control
more,
programs, chemical
Like it
treatment,
hasn't
things like
happened
that.
yet, but
what
they
does that
wanna
mean
get
for
to the
panfish
point
and
where they
sunfish
make it
habitat?
an official.
We know very
Right.
clearly from the literature
That's a
that
giant bluegill, by
growth
the way,
rates and
she's got.
densities of sunfish are extremely
Yeah,
tied
that's a nice
to
one too. It's all
habitat
colored
that's
up real
present. And
pretty.
vegetation's the main habitat that they
I like that
utilize.
blue-orange combo.
So
you know?
how does manipulating these inland lakes, what kind of strategies can we identify that would put out best management practices if you want to manage a lake for invasive species, but still manage a lake for good habitat for sunfish and bass? It ties to bass as well. So, yeah, we lost this one, but that's okay. And so we've been meeting with the vegetation committee to really kind of tease some of that out, get the data that we can, include those kind of analyses in the panfish management plan.
What's happening here?
And currently we are working this summer to try to make more progress on that plan. Go ahead, Heather. The plan's got a lot of goals, and I've kind of already hashed a little bit of that out, but we really want to be able to document what the research, what other states are doing, and what we should
This is
be
where it's
doing
a
or
little
could be
tricky
doing in
where,
Michigan
I'm
to better
happy
manage
that they're
panfish
doing
populations.
things
But
to
we want
help
a
the
document that can
population
go
and the
through
size of the fish
what
and
are the
everything like
issues
that,
we're
but also I
facing.
don't want another committee. I feel like we have enough committees that they should be able to just delegate things a little bit better. And that's most things in government. We don't need all these freaking committees. There can be one committee that does 2 to 3 different things and be fine. But I'm a small government guy.
Yeah.
Skeeter, you're a no government guy.
Absolutely.
So
I wonder if if they have to like form a committee, then they get moolah
yes,
to hire people to do that. It's like the only way they can like get resources or hire new people to form a committee.
sort of.
There's
So
the edge, Adam.
so every year when they go through the budget, right? If you don't spend if say the committee doesn't spend their full budget, they're not going to get a bump in their budget.
Okay.
So they could just spend their full budget and get a higher budget for the following year. But for whatever reason, I think it's just bullshit that they just, we need to form another
Jump in
committee.
there.
We need to
We
form
got room.
another committee. And it's like, I don't think we actually do. We already have plenty of committees in place. Why don't we just delegate a little bit better?
Yeah.
But the government delegation is not a thing. You're supposed to do that a little higher.
My mouse stopped working.
Involved and that there's
Oh.
buy-in so that we could have success.
Magic mouse must
It
be
moves.
plugged in.
Go ahead. So, in addition to
All the
the
subcommittee
plan
charges.
itself, the subcommittee has developed a set of charges, basically draft charges. These are things that we'll bring to our management team and get feedback on. Where are places besides developing
You go
a
panfish
management
fishing?
plan that we can
I
make
love
progress
panfish
on?
fishing.
So what do you think
Our
about a
first step
committee
is we really
survey
want to
and
get that
keep more-
survey that was talked about
I think it's
published,
ridiculous.
so that data's out there
So
and
you and
available for
Tony are on the
everybody.
same page.
You know, it was a great statewide
Yeah.
survey with a lot of responses.
Too much
Almost 9,000
emphasis
anglers
on
weighed
it,
in
or
on what they
not
wanted to
needed
do
Yeah,
a
from a
whole
sunfish
new?
I think
management
with
perspective.
all of the things out there that could use.
I presented
a touch
that to
point,
both the
Sunfish is
MUCC,
probably
to the
not one of them.
Warm Water
Okay.
Steering Committee,
Okay.
the Michigan Inland Lakes and Streams Association, you know, really kind of pushing for, this is what people
I turned
want,
it
this
off
is
for a
what we're
little
talking
bit.
about doing in Michigan. And we've received support in that, in all places. That's
It's
one
on
of the
now.
things that led to the MUCC
Yes.
resolution that Heather referred to, was talking about it. You know, I didn't go to the MUCC to talk about sunfish regulations, but as seems to happen when I get involved with a committee like that, the conversation went that way, and they were really supportive. And so what can we do to help, and developed a resolution saying MUCC will get involved and wants to be involved through that process. Unfortunately, it won't be MUCC specifically now, but we do have other angler groups that we're going to bring into that process through the Warm Water Steering Committee as the main mechanism, but other opportunities where we can as well. Obviously, one of our charges was to develop the sunfish management plan. I've talked about the strategies there. The one thing I didn't mention,
I thought the MUCC was no more.
It is dissolved.
So what's he talking about the MUCC?
And that's why he said, unfortunately, they will not be able to help anymore. It's because it is dissolved.
Okay, so they were trying to help with this in 2025.
Yeah, which
And-
means that they've been working on this for a while to evaluate these, panfish regulations. And I don't hear anything, like the habitat management is different than the study portion, which is the gathering of information, which most fishermen are doing out there. I know we have like hunting surveys. I just received one in the mail. Did you get one in the mail?
Henry got one
Yeah.
For turkey.
for turkey.
Yeah. So I just received one in the mail, and it's like we could put these things out, and there is reporting requirements for different, captains, charter services.
Yeah.
For the that if they allow sportsmen would give a lot of information if there was some trust there that the information was being used
Yeah.
for good, not evil.
So instead of making a whole committee, you're thinking like, let's streamline this and
You've already got your whole team out
the
there
whole
in the
team
field.
in the field with that.
Yep. Who wants to participate and wants to be part of the
Yeah, because they
solution.
want to have good fishing for their livelihood.
Absolutely.
Yeah, makes sense. Kind of like what you
Yeah.
were saying with the guides and stuff.
Yeah, and like we talked about it a little bit last month too, where I don't quite understand why the DNR isn't really communicating with like the local bait shops as much as what you think they would, because that's just such a wealth of information.
Yep.
Because like it'd be easy for them to reach out to local sports shop, be like, hey, what's everyone been doing lately, fishing wise? Oh, yep, they've been tearing up the panfish. Do you know what lake?
Right.
oh, this lake, and then they can dispatch their biologists or officers to go out there and check out and talk to people.
Yeah, I mean, the creel surveys are good, but I think a lot of those creel surveys, the information that's gathered, and we've seen it with ducks and with other fish studies. The information that they gather at the dock is information that could be voluntarily handed over
Yeah,
Interesting.
by the sportsman with no one ever being in the field.
right.
Committee, commissioners like yourself.
So
Making
are
sure
you
that
talking
y'all
like the
are aware of
mandatory
exactly
reporting for
what
like the
we're
spear
trying to
fishermen
do
and
for
the
sunfish
guides
Yeah.
and
management.
charter captains and stuff?
Yeah, if you want to do a study,
Continue to
you
work
just say, hey,
on
when you're issuing
developing a
license,
list of
you
what
say,
kind of research
we're doing
is
a
out
study
there,
this year.
what kind of research is being done in Michigan, help supporting that
I can
research.
see that,
help,
but again,
develop
how
the
reliable is
research
that
needs as
information
they go
going to be?
forward. So we can be a
Because
sounding
people
board for
aren't
the expertise. Again.
people aren't
We're
diehards
aware of the
about
kind of
the
work that's
panfish
going on. We'll
population
be
like they are
very
like the turkey
quick to be able to
population
publicize
or the
what's
deer
happening
population.
and feed
And
that
we
back
already
to the
know like
public.
the deer numbers are kind of fudged.
We
Especially like looking online
continue
and all the
through
people
that
saying, well,
process,
I'm
working with
not going
staff,
to report or
stakeholders, and
whatever they're
research
going to
staff,
say.
developing future
So
objectives and upcoming work that's
catch
going to happen
22,
in
I
Michigan.
suppose.
And then continue to
Buy-in,
incorporate that into the
trust.
public feedback process, which
Yeah.
primarily for warm water species
Does it
is the
sound
warm water
familiar?
species committee.
Yeah,
So,
I read that somewhere.
Yep.
or the warm water steering committee, and that committee, I don't think we talked too much about it, but
Put a lot of effort into this committee, though.
it's
They wanted
developed
it,
from
sounds like.
all the
Really do.
different groups that have constituents in that. So Sturgeon for Tomorrow, Largemouth Bass Federation,
It's not bad. Smalley right there.
Muskies,
That's a pretty good one.
Muskies Alliance is in there. So Michigan
Muskie.
Muskie Alliance. So there's a lot of different angling groups
Muskie Lunch.
represented there, and they're supposed to be the sounding board for these types of issues. And so we'll continue to work with them. We really want that input coming from the public to feed directly into what the plan becomes. The goal is not to create a plan for our division, but to create a plan for people in Michigan.
Brad says
That's,
need
I
to
think,
change
what
the
we
name
have
of
for
the live
update,
stream
right?
again.
Go for it, Brad, because I don't know how to do it.
Two concerns come to mind. And thank you for a wonderful presentation and the background and the
I wonder if I could just hit this
present
button.
day
Try
plans
it.
that you've
Spacebar.
got and then
I
moving
paused
forward.
it.
The two concerns that I have, one is on species specific on crappie. I think if we are looking at crappie specifically in a subcategory from a regulatory standpoint, I think we need to
Adam, can you
heighten
go in
that
and fix their
effort
camera angles? They are
because
way
there
too
are
zoomed in on
lakes
those people.
in
Very
Michigan
fisheye.
that can clearly get out harvested and really devastate that population. And the last thing we want to
if you
do
click that,
is
it just mutes the whole
over
It does.
harvest
Okay.
and
I was trying to do it
underpopulate.
easier
So
because I have my
if I could
mouse
request
doesn't
that the
work, so
committee
every time I
pay
move my
very
mouse,
close
it's-
attention to that and bring something back to us that
Nothing
may
happens.
make some sense in a separate
Apple
category
products, man.
than the other panfish. That would be fantastic.
Probably
The other
would it-
concern
it
that
wouldn't
I
move if
have
it was
is
dead, would
more
it?
No.
holistic on the entire, and I'll try to pronounce this,
It's
Uncharted.
probably almost dead.
How'd I
Yes.
do? All right.
I have a charger right here.
I mispronounced it, I
For
know.
the mouse?
Nonetheless,
It's a lightning, right?
because they are nesting
Yes. Charge it up.
species during
Remember when they used to
during
have
their,
balls underneath there?
Yeah. Little hair. It'll always
Well,
get
is
in
it,
there, take it apart.
is it a lightning or is it a C?
well,
It's a light.
they're nesting species when they're
That's a C.
That's a C.
creating
I
their
think it's a
young.
unique C. It's not.
We also have some
I promise
lakes,
you
not
it's
all
not a
lakes,
C.
that have
Let me see.
gobies. And the
Oh,
concern is those gobies
I know my
surround
Cs.
those
That'd be
nests
C.
on all these species. And when that male that is guarding the nest is removed from that nest due to angling, those gobies go in and take the eggs and the fry that are there. When the male bass comes back to guard, there's nothing to guard. I think we need to really pay close attention to what is the young of the year. We know that the species themselves that are thriving and doing well
I
in
think
the
title
lakes
should say.
are getting bigger because they're eating the gobies, but the gobies outpopulate the other species. If we don't pay attention to what is going on from the young of the year and recruitment, we could be in a catastrophic situation. I'm not saying that it is, I'm saying that it could be, and I think we need to heighten our awareness relative to that phenomenon because we've got an invasive species on the given lakes. And if we need to make sure that we want to protect those nesting species,
Nope.
we may need to regulate accordingly. We tried to do that last year. It didn't quite have the mustard, and I understand that because we didn't have quite the data that we needed. And that's why we rely on you. And for those that don't know these two, they are the premier experts of these species in the state, and I would even argue the country. So I greatly appreciate you coming, and I have great admiration for what you do. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
Commissioners, any other questions? I have a quick one. How will this, do you envision down the road then there'll be plans, management plans that lake associations will buy into for their lake treatment, vegetative, treating Eurasian milfoil and all the cover it provides? More cover than we want, but nonetheless.
Yeah, so with these species management plans, the goal is to develop a document that obviously helps us guide decisions, but it also provides the tools for those lake associations to have that information at hand. And so, so we kind of talked about low-hanging fruit.
Jake.
Matt had kind of set the stage for this panfish management plans. We're working on that one first. The committee ideally would like, once that's completed, we'd like to do a black bass management plan as well. And within those plans, we would like to, we'll identify management strategies that aren't necessary. Obviously it's going to guide fish division work and our survey work and what we're recommending, but it's also going to give content to those lake associations and property owners to better understand where our advice is coming from, what, the data that drives those decisions, the literature that drives those decisions. So yes, at the end of the day, these management plans are for us to help create management strategies on these bodies of water, but they're also for riparians and lake associations to have that data available to them and understand where these decisions are coming from and make educated decisions on their own as well.
I don't think they're goby experts. I think they're panfish experts, but
I'll add to that we work with other agencies as well, like Eagle
and right now they're
and
talking
Michigan
about
Lakes and Streams Association,
that,
and they
the
have
fish
best
habitat,
management
so maybe we should
practices
have
for
Bryan on.
vegetation in lakes. So a lot of that's out there. We're hoping that maybe this will be extra information that people will pay attention to, that it's important for these fish species. So it'll add to what's out there, I think.
I'm not gonna lie, it would be
Right.
kind of be a
Thank you.
badass to be known as like the panfish expert in your state.
In the country.
How do
Yeah,
you,
or in the country.
how do you
That's
differentiate
tops right there.
between a stunted population and a population of fish that's being harvested, the larger fish? When I fish on some public lakes for bass, you rarely catch a fish over 14 inches.
It's
People are
because you
keeping
got to go
those
out of
fish.
state.
So how do you
You're
differentiate
doing it
between
wrong.
a stunted bluegill population and a population that's being harvested?
Stunting is a complicated issue, and it can be caused by a number of factors. Heather mentioned density-dependent growth. If there's too many fish out there and they're competing for resources, they don't grow very well.
Yeah,
If they're being, if the
Tommy
larger
doing this.
fish are being harvested off of a population.
we had the bass
the
tournament I
younger
did a
fish
couple
do
weeks
better.
ago.
They,
A guy
they're
pulled a
not
4-pounder
competing with
out,
those bigger fish as
and it's
much.
not a bass
Their
lake
growth
by any
rates
means.
therefore decline, and you end up
So-
with stunting. And stunting very
Granted, in
specifically is
Michigan,
talking
you
about
start getting up into that 5-6
usually
pound
a
area for
shifting and
bass, that's
reproductive
big.
strategy. So
For sure.
when the
But
bigger fish aren't present,
again,
the younger
it goes
fish
back
are
to
more
The habitat
successful
and
in
the fish
nesting.
population itself.
And so they mature earlier. And especially with
Especially
bluegill,
when
but
it
also
comes
with
to like
bass,
the
once they
lake fish
mature,
like
they
this.
start putting energy into gonad development instead of
Bane just
body
automatically brings in
size.
the booners.
And so you'll see reproduction
Every
going
time.
on. You'll see little
Jake, we're talking
males guarding
fish,
the
sir.
nest, males guard the nest.
Calm
of both
down.
species.
What is it?
And
We're
those little males
60% of the time
will
we're
put so much
60% of
energy
the
into
time it works
reproduction that they
every
don't
time.
grow. And so it's kind of a combination. Over harvest can absolutely cause stunting because you remove those bigger
Yes.
males. And the way, especially in bluegill populations, they compete for nesting space. And so the little ones try to come in and nest, the big ones dominate, the females prefer the big ones. And as a result, all the successful reproduction happens on the larger size.
Not only that,
population.
but
This is too
correct me
much
if I'm
information,
wrong,
I'm sorry,
Skeeter, but don't fish
uh,
and grow to avoid being eaten by
But
bigger
yeah,
fish.
so that it's kind of that
Absolutely.
dynamic. The social dynamic, it's a sexual dynamic, it's a reproductive strategy issue. But over harvest can drive it by taking those bigger fish out of the population, shifting the age of maturity younger, and
So I
causing
think what this guy
more and
wants
more
to see
small
is
fish,
something like what we have
reduced
for,
growth
oh my
rates, and then you
God,
get stuck in a
walleye.
cycle that's really
There
There
a
is an
robot dog.
electronic robot
what we've
dog.
seen in other
Look at it,
states
it's
is
getting down.
by
I knew
limiting
I
the
saw
harvest
one
of
of
those
Is it
bigger
cleaning?
fish,
No,
the
this
smaller
guy's
fish
that's a
dragging it.
don't
gyro, Nate.
do
Oh, I
as
thought it was
well.
like
And
It
so you
helps
start
with
to
the
see a
stability of
reduction
it,
in
but
the
those things
survival of
creep me the
young year
fuck out.
fish. Better growth rates are the
Careful.
ones that do survive, and that changes the size
Think you
structure.
can drag a
So,
deer out for me?
yeah, and
I
it
don't
can
know,
be
but it's
tough to
named
tell
Snoop Dogg.
if
Snoop
it's over
Dogg?
harvest alone or if it's other issues.
How much can it
but,
drag?
the presence of
I
bigger
wanna see
fish
Adam ride
in
it
the
around.
population seems to shift it back, and so
That was
protecting
a small
those
one.
fish
It's still
is
creepy
pretty
though.
critical.
I
for
saw
us.
it
super
skitter
creepy.
across the
For
stairs when
bass,
he
it's a
first
little
started.
different because harvest
It
isn't
scared the
always
crap
the
out of
issue.
me.
It's such a catch and release dynamic
For people
that it really
listening
is more of a
who couldn't
resource
see what we
issue with
just saw,
bass.
a
Too many
robot
young
dog
fish,
just walked
all
by.
competing for the same resources and
Snoop
less
Dogg.
growth.
Snoop
Seems
Dogg,
to be
and
more
we asked
common
him
than harvest.
how much it would be
Dropping
able to
off at
drag,
that size,
and
14
he
No
size,
ignored
comment.
us.
still
Yeah, no
even
comment.
with the catch and
He
release
must not-
dynamic that we
Disrespect.
have
He must not like
nowadays.
humans
So,
very much.
Excuse me,
so
sir.
yeah, I
do you
guess
know
my
who we
short
are?
answer is it's
Do you know who
complicated,
we
but
think
yes,
we are?
over harvest is definitely part of that.
Shoot.
Okay, thank you.
Just a follow-up, based
Okay,
on,
Commissioner
based on the conversation we're having. It is very popular for anglers to go out while nesting is occurring and pulling the big fish off these nests. Describe the concern that you have when that occurs, and should we be cognizant of that?
They're definitely vulnerable, especially panfish off the nest. I've done a lot of research with trying to take bass off the nest, and there's some natural feedback where they get aggressive, but not necessarily while eggs are on the nest. So yes, you can harvest fish off the nest easily. And like Heather mentioned, most of these species are so reproductively fecund, or they spawn with so many offspring, tens of thousands of eggs on each nest, tens of thousands of nests in a lake, that individual nests don't seem to be as critical. We have compensatory reproduction where the nests that don't do as well, they survive better. And so you really get a standing stock of fish out there. It doesn't matter necessarily which nest they came from. It does, because there's genetic implications and things like that. But basically, because they spawn so readily, the individual impacts of individual nests that are harvested aren't quite as big of an issue. I think it's a bigger issue when somebody's sitting on a nest and picking every single fish off and that kind of thing, and you end up destroying a colony. But there's other colonies in most of these lakes, and we don't see reproduction being the biggest issue in most places. There are complications in places where the nest predators might be invasive species, like Bill Boozer, you're saying, like that we need to better understand. But what we do see is when a fish is removed from the nest, in all cases, nest predators.
So basically, what this
destroy the
guy's
nest,
trying to
and that
say
nest
is
not
we have
successful.
anglers
That
that
nest
are
has
not
to be guarded.
respecting
So there is
the
some
actual wildlife, and they're just
concerns with
scalping every
spawning.
fish off each bed.
So-
They're not leaving anything to actually protect the eggs to continue that population. And that's kind of the goal, is to actually make it so we don't have to keep planting
During
fish in
spawning
these,
season and during
yeah,
guarding
lakes.
season, removing
We
the
want
big
it to be
ones.
more natural.
Is
Okay.
that a very good strategy?
So you're saying, like, when I'm bluegill fishing,
And
I see a
that's
bluegill
where
nest, I
the
snag that thing.
Additional,
Not snag, but catch that
Yeah.
fish, and I keep it to eat it.
Mhm.
That's
Which-
detrimental,
Well,
opposed to just catching and
fish.
releasing.
Well, not
Only being able
necessarily.
to
Not, yeah,
catch 10
not
instead of
necessarily. What he's
35
saying
could
is there's
change
people
the
that are just
dynamics
sitting
there.
on that same bed all
It's not
morning,
about getting
Okay.
leaving
and
them
every
all. It's
fish that
about
comes up
eating
onto
enough
it,
to keep that
they're
population
picking it right out, just
Okay.
in the way. So
one
yeah,
after another.
absolutely. Yeah.
And obviously,
Thank you.
that's not a good thing, because then that means we have to plant more fish to lay more eggs. And when you're doing
you.
that year to year to
Thank you
year
for
to
coming.
year,
Actually,
that's
if I
more
could,
money that we have to
before
dump
we let Jay leave the
into this
table,
to
there's
maintain this resource.
two other
Gotcha.
And if
announcements
we
that
can
I
just
think
let
would
nature
make
do
sense
its
for the
thing,
commissioner and
and
the
if we
audience
didn't
too. So
over
our
harvest,
fisheries division
wouldn't be a problem.
assistant
It'd be all
chief
hunky dory, and then we can
Ed
save money,
Aisha
and that money can
is
go
retiring
to
at the
other
end of this
areas that
week,
might need more.
and Jay Wesley here has been
help.
selected.
How
He'll
do
be
you
starting in that role
change
as
the
assistant
mindset
chief
of
next week.
men and guys and fishermen? to do that then?
Congratulations. Wonderful.
During spawning season, we changed the limit.
Yeah. Okay. Is that easy to do?
And then in the
I
back
think
of the
we've
room,
established that
we
there's
have a
nothing
new
easy
assistant
to
chief
do.
in our
Yeah.
law enforcement division,
Yeah,
and that is
because
Todd Siska.
what the NRC
So
can't
we've had
change
some
laws,
changes,
they
and
can
we have
only
two great new assistant
make
chiefs.
amendments.
Congratulations.
So it would literally take actual political BS to get laws changed.
I don't know if you could make an amendment to adjust the adjust the possession
So
and
I'm
the
going to be
daily
presenting a
limit
change that we're
during
proposing
a specific time
due to
period?
some concerns that
I
were
think you could
expressed
do that.
over the recent
That's not
changes to
changing
the
the law.
muskrat.
That's
No, you
trapping
can do that because they
Yeah.
did that with the deer.
Right.
You know, they're going to go from
And
10
just a
doe
little bit of
tags down to
background,
5
Right.
at
in
the April
27.
8th meeting,
So
you
they
guys will
can make that
recall
amendment
that
and it
the
stays
Natural
effective for
Resources
3 years. And
Commission
then after that
approved
3rd year, they
Wildlife
go and
Conservation Order
readjust
Amendment
off
number
of the new
3
data
of
that they collected from it.
2026.
So,
That was for the fur
I mean,
bearer
I
and
think it's
small game
totally
management
doable.
seasons.
Uh-oh.
That
What?
changed the
skipped
resident
ahead.
and non-resident
We
muskrat
were back a couple
trapping
minutes,
season
so I
Oh,
to
muskrat
Oh, now we're
November
on to the
1st to
muskrats.
the
muskrat
Friday
season's
before the
over.
Okay,
last Saturday
scrats.
in April in all 3 of our trapping zones. And that was, as
Yeah.
requested by the commission. Prior to this regulation change, both the muskrat and the mink trapping seasons were the same in each zone. So in this, the table on this slide here is showing what those new season dates are for the muskrat trapping season, as well as for the mink trapping seasons. And as you can see, those
I
start
don't think he
dates
did.
for the muskrat and mink season no longer align in both zones 1 and 3. And then that the muskrat season extends well into the spring, while those mink trapping seasons end at the beginning of March in all 3 zones. So the concern here, since those changes were made, we have had several Upper Peninsula trappers that have reached out to the department and expressed some of their concerns.
Huge
And
concerns.
basically, especially in the North Zone, due to that change,
Yeah, they probably have a
with
population of what, 6
the change
trappers
in
up
the
there?
start of the muskrat trapping
There's still a
season in
lot of
Zone
trappers.
1, there's going to be
Like,
7 days at the
there
beginning
is,
of the mink trapping season when any incidentally caught muskrat
and this is
cannot
my
be
first
kept.
thought. Was
And
the
that
incidental
is the
trapping.
portion of the mink trapping season
It's going to be
that
huge.
has the
They
most
actually have the
trapper
same traps in very
participation.
similar
So
sets.
hence the concern.
Well, it's kind
And
of the same
also
thing
that,
with, well,
they
ish.
have
Same
told
thing
us that
ish
virtually
with,
all of those mink sets
bobcat
will also
and
catch muskrat. So the trappers have
otter, right? Because
expressed
you have
this
to have a kill
concern
tag and you get 1 kill
that they
tag per
won't
year
be able
for
to
otter
keep
and
right
bobcat.
those
But you use those
muskrats, and
same
that they will
sets for
have to
other
discard
species as
those
well. Granted,
any
these are
of those caught
footholds,
during that
and they're
7-day
supposed to be able
period
to,
of the mink
be able
trapping
to release
season. And of course, they view that as
animals
wasting the
safely.
resource.
But some of the
And the
sets,
department, we
like if
agree
you're
with
out trying to
that. I
trap
think those are
beaver,
valid
there's a good
concerns, and
chance
so
that you
we're
could probably
recommending
get
a
an
change
otter.
to
an
address
otter.
Yeah,
this.
for sure.
And
And then
usually
also
those
the
water sets,
trappers,
they end up drowning,
when
unfortunately.
talking with them, they did also
So
express that they don't
you're
want to
SOL.
see
Yep.
the start of the
And
mink
then
trapping season
the other part
moved
is you
back to
have that
November
bycatch
1st
on
to address
accident, and then
this.
it's like, well, what do
And
I
that's
do? I feel
because
like if
there's
I
a lot
report
of
this, I'm going to
years
get in
where
trouble
that
because I
first
went over my
week
limit,
of the
and
mink
now I have a
trapping
kill tag
season
for it
is
now.
really the only
So
one
now I'm
without
just going to
ice
stuff this under
formation
the
on
bank,
waterways.
or I'm going to stuff it in my freezer for a couple years.
So
Yeah, and how does that
a couple
help
of
anything?
Yeah,
additional
it doesn't help anything at
considerations
all.
here. Some similar concerns that we have regarding the take of
And me
incidental
being a fly fisherman, I love
muskrat
my
and
trout.
mink.
I don't love otters.
The
Or
big one
beavers.
there is
Not
also in
otters,
zone
beavers, not a
Otters
fan.
love
3.
trout.
The
I
muskrat
know.
trapping season will begin with
Eat 'em up
9
like little
days
fish
where
sticks.
only muskrat can be kept. So any mink caught incidentally in those muskrat sets will also have to be discarded. That will also likely be viewed by stakeholders similarly
See,
with
and I
that
don't like
concern
that
of
at all.
wasting the
No,
resource
you're
and
just
not
going
being
to
able
get
to
rid of
keep
it.
those.
What do they
So we're
mean by
also
discard?
recommending a change to address that concern
Because
in
it's still a
zone 3.
resource that can be used.
And then also just of note, in all of the zones, all 3 of the zones, the muskrat trapping season extends nearly 2 months after the close of the mink trapping season. So trappers are going to run into the same issue during March and April if they incidentally catch a mink while they're trapping muskrats. On private lands, this concern will be present year-round outside of the mink trapping season
Now,
because of
Skeeter,
the
I've never
new
done much
management
muskrat
season
trapping or
that
mink
was
trapping, but is there a lot of back
on
and
private
forth on the
lands.
bycatch on
So
that?
Oh yeah, yeah. That like
we're
your
concerned about this.
muskrat sets, you're
However,
gonna catch
the
mink.
department, we
Really?
expect a
Yeah,
lot
like
less
Okay.
you
participation
can
in
set up
muskrat
some pretty
trapping during this
specific
time period.
mink traps
So we're
that
not
won't
proposing any change
catch
to address this
muskrats.
issue
Like
at
I
this
had
point. Just bringing it up as a
set on my
potential
way to work
concern and
that
just
was like
monitoring,
culverts. It's like if
how
you see a
that
culvert
goes
that
with the
goes underneath the
establishment
road.
of the new
Yeah, if
management
it's
season.
trapping season, you should probably set for a mink. 'Cause
So our
in 3 days, one's
recommendation,
gonna walk by
in
there.
order to address
Gotcha.
this,
Okay.
the department's
And that trap's
recommending an
different for
amendment
mink
to the
specific-
wildlife
so-
conservation
same
order
trap
that would
for
change
mink.
the
Same
muskrat
setup,
trapping
yep.
season
It's kinda
start
like-
dates
I've
in
seen a lot
both
of
the
those.
UP
Yeah,
with
well,
Zone
you've seen the
1 and
foothold
also the
set for,
Southern
like,
Lower
coyote,
Peninsula
right?
Zone
Yeah.
3.
Well, it's the
Back
same
to
thing
what
for
they were
fox,
previously
almost.
so that they
Yes,
align with the
So a
start of
fox
the
would
mink
be a
trapping
byproduct
season
of
in each
yes.
zone.
trapping for
So this means that the
coyotes.
muskrat season in Zone 1 would be October
Yeah, but I just
25
didn't
to the
know.
Friday
I didn't
before the
know
last
if
Saturday
muskrat
in
and
April.
mink were
And the
so
muskrat season in
closely
Zone 3
the
would be
same
November
with
10
their
to the Friday before the last Saturday in April.
habits.
There's no change being recommended to Zone 2 because those, the mink and muskrat
I've seen
trapping
mink,
seasons already
like, take
overlap
over and
there.
occupy muskrat huts.
Oh, really?
And just
Really?
a clarification
It checks
here,
out. They're
we wanted
like the
to,
bastards of
clarify that the
rodent
wildlife
community.
conservation
Yeah,
order currently
the
states that the
mink will grab a
management
muskrat
season
and,
for
like, bite it
muskrat
right
shall take
behind
place
its head,
outside
so
of
it's
the
still
open
alive but
muskrat
not dead, and
season.
pull it inside
So
of
as a
its hut and
result of
leave it
that, the
alive in there
management
like a
season is going to
refrigerator.
automatically
That's
shift
wild.
so that there's not going to be
And
any gaps
frogs
between the
and
muskrat
fish.
trapping and
Anything that
management
moves.
seasons in each zone.
It's kind of
So
like the mermit.
we don't need
or the
any
ermit.
amendments
Yeah.
there.
That's the
And
deadliest
then
animal in
unfortunately,
Michigan.
due to the
If
timing
mink
of
were
this
50
change will
pounds,
not be
none of us would be
incorporated
alive.
into
Oh,
the
we'd have
printed
problems.
version of
Big
the fur bear
problems.
harvest regulations summary. However, the
comes to
department
the-
will plan on
even if you,
communicating these changes to the public
That's
and will
funny.
make
Even
updates
if
to the
you,
online version once the, if the regulation is
incidentally catch
approved
a
and once
mink,
that's
and if
approved.
it's in a foothold,
And that is it. Just,
Good luck getting rid
Good
of
luck
it.
getting it
short, the
out.
department would like to thank the trappers
like, you better have some
that did
short
contact
chains,
us
because
and
they're
express
gonna
those
they're gonna come
concerns and
at
also
you.
talk through some
Like, they think
potential
they can kill
solutions
you when
with
they're
us.
It-
Also
that
want to
big.
thank
Yeah,
the
it's gonna be like a
commissioners,
swinging
There's a
maze.
culvert.
If you have any
Culvert set.
questions, Sarah and I will
Joe
try to
or
answer
Joe
those
was
for you.
saying,
Commissioner
Are they
Walters,
voting
do you
on
want, I know
buck
you and I have
tags for
talked
Michigan
about this.
today?
You want to say a few words?
I think you could
Sure.
shoot
Just
3
for
bucks,
clarity,
is what we've
my
discussed.
goodness.
Maybe like the
these
3.
Yeah, if you do the math, carry the two.
regulations
Yeah,
were
3
clearly an
bucks.
Yeah.
oversight when we were first
I don't know why my
addressing
chat's being so
uh,
weird.
open season and management season.
See that?
Had they been brought forward previous, we would have adjusted those then, but unfortunately that it was an oversight.
I'm blaming
And I
Brad.
think it's a great idea to address that now. Relative to keeping or not keeping a muskrat during management season,
What's he
it is
saying here,
legal
Brad
to
saying?
keep them during management
They're gonna be kill
season
traps, so
on
it's not
private
gonna-
land. On public land, one would
Correct.
need a permit from the department.
Well, a
So
lot
just
of
for
them.
clarity in
Who
that
said that?
regard.
Brad.
And I
Brad,
think
yeah.
that's
I mean, some of
important,
them,
especially
are
when we're getting
kill
calls
sets. I mean,
from UP trappers saying
you
I
can
can't
set
keep
muskrat
a
traps on some
muskrat
pretty good feeder
even
pads,
during
like when you're in
management season.
cattails, where
And that's
the
not
muskrat
exactly
comes up and
correct. So
they
just for
actually
clarity, we want to make sure
get on the
that
pad.
if on private
If
land,
they
one can
don't
keep
jump
those
off into the water, it's
muskrats
not
during
necessarily a
management
kill
season.
trap, it's a
And
foothold.
on public land during
Mink are
management
the same
season,
way.
a
It's usually
permit is
you
required
saw the
from
culvert
the
trap.
department.
When water goes a little bit low and you've got some
Thank you,
land
Commissioner.
that's right there on
Any
the
other
edge, that's a great spot to catch a mink.
comments? Well, thank you. We got a few calls on this
Yep,
also.
and say you catch a mink
Appreciate
and then
you
it rains
correcting
and
the
all of a sudden that
oversight
water
and
goes up.
bringing it
And
home.
even if you didn't mean it to be a kill set,
You bet.
well, it is now.
Right.
All right. Next up, we'll move to the Earn a
Wish you guys
Second
could see the
Buck pilot
chat. Here we
program.
Oh, here we
have,
go. Brian, you're in.
Dr. Brent Rudolph.
What are we talking about?
Earn a second buck.
Oh,
Ooh, here we go. Turn this up a little bit. So what we can do is we can pause this when we go through, and I can always catch up later. Brad.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Crazy.
Continuing on our
What's up, Brian?
2027 deer regulations journey here today with you all. Happy to talk about the proposed Earn a Second Buck pilot program that we're working in collaboration with you all to develop. Just an overview of what we'll cover here. First of all, there's a few pilot criteria that were established by the commission at the May meeting that we're looking at building the recommendations to meet those criteria. We'll talk about the regulations changes and the licensed products that we're working on developing to be able to support this
You're all
program.
about that, right?
We'll discuss the antlerless harvest reporting and verification process, how the Earn a Second Buck bonus tag will be authorized. So that is that second buck tag that will be allow folks to take a second buck in the Lower Peninsula, even with the single antler deer restriction coming. And then talk about the evaluation, our proposed approach for a paired set of counties that would be under regulations and not under the Earn a Second Buck regulations and timeline for that.
Okay. So Mr. Rudolph was talking. Sorry, Dr. Rudolph was talking. And hopefully they're going to kind of maybe go into more detail opposed to what we saw a few weeks ago that came out online. That's kind of the thought, right? Is that kind of what you were thinking?
I hope so.
Yeah, because I feel like that was very vague.
That's a good word for it.
With a lot of what kind of behind it.
Well, vague or ambiguous.
Ambiguous, non-data. Like, there was not a lot of data.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see what they say.
And of course, question and answer and discussion at the end as well. Noted there.
Can we ask
So
questions?
just for the context here, once again, we have a few changes coming in 2027. And those included our statement of initiating this pilot program.
Camera, so it makes it look
to
even
include
worse.
the following. First of all, that second buck tag is going to be required to have a 4-point on a side minimum antler point restriction. So any deer taken after folks qualify for and purchase that tag, any antler deer taken will have to have at least 4 points on one side. We are asked to develop a treatment and control area within Zone 3 for that comparison. We were asked to give recommendations on the duration and geographic region that will be sufficient to provide a science-based evaluation of the impacts of earn a second buck on antlerless harvest. And we've been asked to address an enforcement mechanism and hunter reporting requirements to track that antlerless harvest and develop some criteria for pre-pilot data collection in 2026, heading into the pilot program. Finally, as we pointed out, in order to roll this out for 2027 implementation, we've got a number of licensing and software system changes that we'll need to make. That's about a 6-month process because that includes working with vendors that support some of those systems. And so for us to be ready to go when licenses go on sale starting March 1st, 2027, that's set the criteria here where we're bringing this for information here this month, and we'll need action next month to be able to get the rest of those steps rolling and everything in place. So that's all the background context. Looking then at stepping through some of those components that we've laid out here in this Waco Amendment number 7. I'm going to start with discussing that eligibility and the licensed products that we are.
All right. Skeeter, can you see this? I know you're kind of the farthest away.
Yes.
I'll try. I know I can't hear which it is.
Can you right there?
Oh, yeah, up there, yeah.
You have a giant screen. Like, let's make this a little tiny one.
A little better.
Yeah.
So this is the controlled group would be down Barry, Kalamazoo, Ingham, Hillsdale, and Lapeer, I believe, is how I'm reading that. We have to establish you cannot have purchased a combination license or a single deer license. You must have harvested and party house deer. Okay, that's interesting.
Well, that solves your 3 deer.
$3 issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Begin. Wrong screen.
Creating as part of this process. So to be clear, we're not creating any new licenses. We don't have the authority to do that. That's established legislatively, but the types of licenses that we have the ability to sell can be packaged in various ways. We're therefore creating this new package of what we're calling the Earn a Second Buck license product in order to get establish the eligibility of folks that will be able to purchase the second buck tag. And to be clear, individuals, as we've laid this order out, cannot have purchased what our older traditional combination licenses have been. That's by law, because that would give them in a situation to take $3 if they became eligible for that other buck tag. But they also cannot purchase the single deer license. Well, it's going to be clear, in the past, hunters have always had to have the choice. Most of them are looking at the single deer license or the combination license. So in 2027, hunters will also have the choice of this Earn a Second Buck license product. And for anybody that hunts in those counties we're recommending for this Earn a Second Buck program, shown here in the white or lighter gray outline, Barry, Hillsdale, Ingham, Kalamazoo, and Lapeer, our recommendation would be purchase the Earn a Second Buck license product. That'll get you the opportunity to participate in this pilot program. Again, the other key part of criteria of the qualifications is they have to harvest and report an antlerless deer from those Earn a Second Buck counties. So they buy the package to begin with, After they purchase and after they harvest and report an antlerless deer, they will become eligible for the earn a second buck bonus tag, that second buck tag. So a version of this map is on page 2 of the memo. I've kind of condensed the cheat sheet table that we've used to give hunters insight on what kind of deer they can take with different tags to focus on the Lower Peninsula where this is mostly relevant. So for the options, when they purchase the earn a second buck licensed product, they'll initially get 2 tags. One of them will be valid for an antlered deer. It will be in most areas of the Lower Peninsula eligible for any antlered deer, no minimum antler point restriction. They will again have the option if they want to use that on antlerless deer as well. So that's their choice for tag 1 in most of the Lower Peninsula and in all of those recommended earn a second buck counties. The second tag is an antlerless only license. So they'll have an option to be able to use that in any season in the Lower Peninsula on an antlerless deer. And then again, the third tag, if they become eligible and purchase that tag, will have that minimum 4-point on a side antler point restriction as indicated. So as we develop heading into 2027, some of our advice for retail sales agents and some of our messaging on our online or Hunt Fish app will be stepping folks through that process. If you hunt these counties, we recommend you purchase this product. Here's what these licenses or these tags will be eligible for. Here's how you can qualify
in a
for
different
the
county?
bonus tag. Once again, tag
That's
3,
what's
that bonus tag.
confusing to me. So I buy this earn a buck proposed
but
thing.
Is that optional at every single place you buy every tag outlet?
I would think so. Like or it's gonna for sure be on the app. And then
what about your first tag, right? So your tag 1
is
let's say I buy a doe permit or antlerless permit, and I do I have to shoot a doe in that county? Do I have to shoot a doe on my first tag?
So it sounds to what I think what happens is you buy the only way to get your second, if you buy just like a regular doe tag, it will not get you a second buck. If you buy this proposed,
it's pretty much a repackaged combo tag.
Yes. It's like a separate one, and then you get your buck tag and like a normal tag wherever you're at in the Lower Peninsula.
So that second tag, you have to shoot a doe on that tag?
Yes, on that tag, and then that will allow you to get your third tag, which would be your second buck. And then you'd have to have it be 4 by on a side or bigger anywhere in the Lower Peninsula.
See, like tag 3 is only eligible for purchase with a reported. So you have to buy this 1 and 2 tag. The buck
but it doesn't say on that tag. So and that's the thing. Like let's say that like I'm an idiot. Okay, let's just. I mean, that's not hard.
You're not a doctor. You're a doctor, so you can't be.
But let's just say that I
aging doctor.
Let's just say that I buy this earn a second buck tag and another antlerless tag. I shoot an antlerless deer, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna tag it with my antlerless tag, right? Because I shot it with an antlerless tag, and then I want to get my second buck tag. And I go to get my second buck tag, and you're like, no, you can't because you tagged it with the wrong tag.
Correct. You have to shoot the doe in that one of those 5 counties with the correct doe tag.
Is that? I mean, is that the way that it goes?
Yes.
Like,
I'm not sure.
It has to.
It has to be.
I would assume so, but I have no idea.
It has to. It should only electronically work as long as you've met the criteria. Just like when we go to every other state where it's like you got to buy this habitat permit before you can get your kill tag.
Michigan is different.
Yeah.
We've established that
You're
Michigan is
You're
different.
right. You're
Yes,
right.
Jake. If you buy, that's what I think. That's my interpretation. You buy this earn a buck tag structure. You get a buck tag. That's good for pretty much anything, except for a couple spots you got to use APR, and then you get a doe tag, and that doe tag is only good in those 5 counties. And so you have to shoot that doe in one of those 5 counties. You submit it, the harvest report, then you are then eligible to purchase your second buck tag, which is a 4 by on the side in the whole entire Lower Peninsula.
You have to shoot your first buck in that county.
No, anywhere you want.
It's just the doe.
I hope that
It's just the doe has to be in that county. So I could buy this thing early doe season, drive down to, I already got spots found in these counties because why not? Looking to see, shoot a doe in September, and then October 1st I got 2 buck tags.
What's the
again.
public land situation in these counties?
Berry County is very small.
It's
Not a
very
lot.
small.
Very small, yes. And then Kalamazoo County, there's a couple bigger areas I like, just because that's closest to me. otherwise. And then
But there's the Berry
Hillsdale's
County
probably
State Game
nil
Area.
because isn't that like the biggest buck county?
that's a huge Buck County. Yeah.
So it's probably nil for
Very small public land. Yeah.
And
I
it's
think
probably
Barry and Kalamazoo. I think there's a big chunk in Kalamazoo County too. I can't remember the name of it right off the top of my head, but there's a lot of like mountain biking trails and stuff in Kalamazoo County that have a lot of public around them.
over in Sloppy Joe Land over in Lapeer by everybody out of Detroit. You don't want to go
Yeah, I'm
there.
not going that far. No.
Unless you know somebody
'Cause
who
think of-
has 500 acres that wants does gone.
Yes, that would be the thing. Like, hey, go find we'll have a September doe camp, and we'll all go there and shoot them in September with
But
rifles.
if you already got a spot in the UP
But
where you can just have
you're good.
2 bucks anyway.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're
it's just like
good. But the thing is, once I start driving that far, I can get to the Indiana pretty quick, and I can do that too. So it's like, yeah, it's gonna be interesting. All right, let's see where we're at here.
Are you proposing that you're going to do this, or are you just saying it as a
Is
scenario
purchased
that's
separately
possible?
once they become eligible.
You can't be Mr.
for
1 buck
that
and
purchase.
Mr. 2
I'm
bucks.
Mr. $2 if you shoot enough does.
However, as we deal with very often, where you hunt or where you live does not
Depends how
dictate,
bored I
excuse
am.
me, where you live or where you buy a license does not dictate where you might use it. And so folks will have the option still to use those tags elsewhere if they hunt in more than one location. So essentially, we're just mirroring what the existing combination
so that doe
license would
camping
allow.
tag
So
can
if
be
folks
used
do
anywhere
choose
in
to
the
use
state.
that
It
first
only
tag
gets
in the
$100
Upper Peninsula,
if you shoot it in one
it
of
will
those
have a
counties.
3-point on a side antler point restriction on it. They will have the same option for antlerless use in the Upper Peninsula. Second tag is antlerless. Again, they need to take that antlerless deer in one of those earn a second buck counties if they want to be eligible for the bonus tag. But if something falls through and they make a choice to use licenses elsewhere, they still have the ability. They haven't blown their money on a tag that has a lot of extra restrictions on where they can make use of it. And then again, in the northwest portion of the Lower Peninsula, where our antler point restrictions are in place, they still have to buy those antler point restrictions. So those individuals, that first tag would have 3 on a side antler point restriction. And then again, just that reminder, that third tag, they are only eligible to purchase it once they've reported that antlerless deer in a designated county. All right.
If they want more doe shot in those counties, I'll go shoot
On
more does, Brian.
antlerless harvest. So that covers the products and the regulations changes we've had regarding how they can qualify
I'm
based
still
on
not
license
100%
purchase.
clear on all that
Before we
stuff.
move forward
Yeah.
on licensing, just so that I have it clear in my mind.
You bet.
So when a hunter goes to purchase, whether it be online or at the store, a combination license, they will have 3 different options, one for the UP, one for the Lower Peninsula outside of the earn a second buck, and then a earn a second buck combination license. 3 different options. Is that correct?
No, not exactly. They will still have the option for the old traditional combination license, which includes 2 tags. That's the only way they would be able to use both of those tags on an antler deer is if they use them in the Upper Peninsula. But there's no specific license that only can be used in the Upper Peninsula.
So it is a third option.
Right. Their option will be the single deer license, which is pretty similar to how it has
Yeah.
been before. What type of deer they can take will vary somewhat. That's already been set through the May regulation changes. They can buy the combination license. They will not be able to use both of those for antlered deer in the Lower Peninsula because we'll have a 1 antlered deer limit. Or they can buy the earn a second buck package, which is really a single deer license and an antlerless deer license bundled together. The same price as if they had in the past bought those things separately, but that gets them eligibility if they take and report the antlerless deer to then purchase the earn a second buck third tag, that bonus tag.
Do you foresee problems with, I bought this tag and I really wanted that tag, and then utilizing a tag that really isn't eligible for a given area?
Yeah, those are, so 2 parts of those questions. Yes, we always have some buyer's remorse or even just confusion. I bought the wrong thing. We have processes in place where folks can return and refund and make a new purchase if they discover that before they've utilized those tags, before they harvest, use those tags. So that's similar. And again, we've had that in the past with the single deer license compared to the combination license and folks realizing, oh, I made the wrong purchase. So that'll be an extra wrinkle, but that, again, will be not dissimilar to how folks have had to make those choices in the past. Regarding whether they'll be confused and use the wrong license in the wrong place, again, we will have the ability to create messaging on these tags. That's part of this process of getting our regulations changes and everything worked out now. We work with the vendor to what will be printed on the Earn a Second Buck licensed product to make some clarifications. Again, there's always some accidents made. We know that's a fact of life in the whole process. So we'll have a little longer time heading into the actual 2027 season to develop all the Q&As and support for this process, but it will be a new transition for folks to get accustomed to.
Here, Commissioner.
What's what's the status of the late archery season in the Upper Peninsula? The regs.
While we're on the subject,
There is still the option for hunters to basically use a buck tag for an antlerless deer in either the early or late part of the archery season. The change that was made is the late you've not been able to use a crossbow in the late portion of the archery season. We've made the change from the May amendment so that
over there, Skeeter?
Yeah, looking at
hunters with a senior license, and we already had some exceptions for hunters with disabilities, will be able to do that. So that's the only change that have affected our late archery portion of the
may have
Upper
taken
Peninsula.
Jimmy Gretzinker on the doe hunt
I
there.
have a question before we move on from this. There's been some confusion. This Earn a Second Buck combo tag that would be available next year. There's no indication of changing prices or anything beyond. I mean, that's legislative authority. So out-of-state hunters that wanted to purchase that and hunt in those counties would still fall under the legislative license fee. So they pay their out-of-state rates just like they would for a regular combo. Correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Just to clarify.
Only flexibility on pricing is discounting authorities on antlerless licenses. We don't have there's no authority for that for any of the buck licenses. And again, we're using existing licenses just packaged in a new way compared to how we have.
Except you will pay more for
I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, some of the requirement, we really have one big part of this requirement is by still having options for the traditional combination license to allow two deer to be taken to the Upper Peninsula. We've got to reconfigure some of these
And then if you want to
availability so that we have the right criteria and cannot have folks in a situation. Again, since the licenses it's not a UP license, it's a license that can be used anywhere in the state. So the old combination license with a bonus tag would give the folks the opportunity to take $3, and we cannot sell licenses in that
configuration.
Is what Brad said.
Okay.
Good, thank you. I know there is, it's condensed to a few bullets and a few parts of the table, but there are a lot of moving parts in this to understand. So appreciate the questions and make sure there's clarification here. All right, so on the antlerless harvest side, how are we going to verify an appropriate antlerless harvest has occurred? So to be completely clear, there's no entirely infallible way to do this. We could require a deer head to be presented in person at a DNR office when there's someone available to take a look at a deer head. We could require a picture to be uploaded through an online system, providing some evidence of an antlerless deer, of a dead antlerless deer.
That how do you do a mandatory check-in? Like, I think one of the commissioners wanted that pretty bad. Like, oh, just do that, right? That was like the thing. Maybe, I don't know if it was the UP guy or if it was, I guess we'll reference him to maybe Dr. Idiot. I'm not sure. But what now it's, and Adam, we talked about doing like snap a picture like Kansas does. Did you like that idea of a picture of the doe for that? Or what's your.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's in place. Like the method is in place. Like you can go to other states. Like we're not reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
It's just like the cost. It's just that Michigan is so far behind on all of this stuff, and it's like it's coming out of the woodwork. It's like baffling. Like, how will we ever do this? Like, you just go to another state if you want to shoot bucks, or like if you want to shoot deer, just go to another state. We don't have time for this. Like, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't mind it.
I didn't think it was that weird.
No, I guess that's one of the things that maybe we're kind of plagued with, and it's this double-edged sword of tradition, right? Since we have this, we're steeped in this tradition, you talk to somebody and until, 10 years ago, or maybe a little bit longer now, that when I started going out of state, nobody I knew really went out of state because we had such a rich tradition here. And so then you think about all of these older guys that get up there and shake their fists and we're like, oh, we don't want to change. Well, they don't understand what's going on in all of these other states.
The good in other states.
How this has progressed and like kind of what's going on. And I think that's what we're seeing here is like how in the world are we going to do this? Like, well, listen to the people who are, kind of telling you what's going on. And I'm not saying like us or like the consumer, but like, Chad Stewart saying like, hey, this is what we did in Indiana. Hey, this is what's going on in Pennsylvania. To a fault, maybe this is what's going on in West Virginia.
Let's not do it that way.
But these are the things that are going on, and I think maybe the West Virginia thing is like if it fits their narrative. But back to your question, the thing in Kansas, like that's a way to do it that I think would be very. You'd have to be like a very nefarious individual to be like, I have to get this deer, like a relatively new dead deer, take a picture of it.
It's so difficult.
Unless you drive down the road.
But you know what I mean? Like you'd have to, it would have to be really thought out. Like
absolutely. And to fit in your timeline that you're looking for.
Yes.
Yeah.
I go back to our coyote competitions.
Yeah.
It's like every one we had to upload a video.
Yeah.
And it was the shake test. I mean, you hold the coyote up, you shake it, and you repeat the phrase that they have given you.
Oh, yeah. That's a great idea.
Like, you could pretty easily.
I wipe my own ass.
Yeah.
I wipe my own ass.
Exactly.
So they give you, when you
remember
say,
one year
I shot one. And
one year it
like,
was, you held it up, you shook it, and you said, "Looks like parvo." It was things like that. So, but you didn't get that code
until the kickoff.
So it is easy for you to punch a doe tag, and them to say, "Here's your number," and then you to write that number down on a piece of paper and take a picture with that doe with that number, and then submit. And it's more of a two-step verification.
And pick up the deer and shake it.
Right.
To make sure it's not.
You're the only one picking the deer up and shaking.
You're tall enough, you can stand up and it won't be touching the ground. But,
none of those systems provide 100% certainty that the deer was taken by a hunter, that the deer was taken when and where they said it was. But some of those extra layers would involve extra expense, would require more logistics and time of our hunters, would result in a longer delay in them being eligible for that second buck license, and would put some more demands on staff at a time that's already a pretty demanding time of the year. So we know it's also not perfect, but we will be relying on our mandatory online reporting system with some modifications, a couple key modifications. First of all, again, working with our vendor to put these in place. When someone begins a report on an antlerless deer harvest, and we see that they have purchased the right earn a second buck license package, they'll receive a notification that they could be eligible for that second buck license. So that's one of the parts in the process to be able to make people aware of that change and that potential opportunity for them. Also, since we have online reporting, be able to directly link that report once it's submitted to our retail sales system. And so eligible hunters that receive that notification, that complete that harvest report, can be authorized electronically, basically instantaneously, to be eligible to purchase that earn a second buck bonus tag, not having delays in the whole process. Verification, we're still continuing to work through law enforcement division on ideas of how to approach this, but one change we will be making is during that antlerless harvest reporting process, there'll be some type of notification made that a conservation officer may follow up to verify details. So anybody that's making a knee-jerk reaction, I can go online, I can plug in that I killed an antlerless deer and get the second tag. At the very least, they're receiving a notification. And again, some of those folks will receive follow-up from a conservation officer, so requiring people to take a second consideration of whether they want to knowingly, falsely submit
a report to us with an indication that it's not being taken lightly. And then finally, are we actually going to assess it? Well, we've been working with Dr. Emily Pomerantz at Michigan State University. We'll be developing an evaluation process similar to looking at the impacts on antlerless harvest to actually look at rates of false reporting. So that'll be part of this multiple year process and evaluation.
How is that even possible?
I don't know. Like, how do you like survey is the only way? Like, people are gonna say, hey,
no,
anonymously,
the 7 guys that they check, one of them didn't, and then we'll multiply it.
One thing that just came to mind, like, quickly with that, with like a follow-up from a DNR officer or conservation officer or whatever, like that follow-up could be as simple as like a phone call.
Yeah.
And say like, hey, can you text me a picture of your deer?
Yes. Very easy.
Like tell me your story. Like, when did you shoot it? Like, blah, blah, blah. Does it line up with what they put in on the app? And like, hey, shoot me a picture. And like, if you had to do that, like for 10 of them.
Yep.
Or 10 of them a week or something.
Yeah, you can do that anytime. Yeah, that'd be super easy to.
And then, I mean, and yeah, so would it give them a burden? But I mean, if they're just. And
they have office people that can do that. They watch social media already. Yeah. They've said that they have people that work in the DNR that literally watch Facebook pages, and that's how they find people.
So
just make them make some phone calls.
That seems, and they could do it from like some sort of like a burner number, so they're not getting
not giving out. Yeah. Yeah.
But it would seem also like you're building like good rapport. Like, hey, here is the number that you can call, like a report poaching number or like whatever. Yep. So it could garner something good in the community. So it's not, maybe not.
I think,
you don't have to build an app system. You don't have to build $1 million app to ask for it.
To get some data. Yeah.
No, I think that we do have a lot of hunters, but we are not going to have a lot of hunters that are going to participate in this thing. I think divvied up, this is easily rectifiable. Like,
well, I mean, you tell your buddy, like if you shoot one and you're like, holy shit, I got a text from the DNR that said, hey, shoot me a picture.
Right.
Like,
that's going to spread. That'll spread. Yeah. That'll people
like wildfire.
Yeah. Like you'll be like, holy crap.
So somebody will just be taking pictures of dead does or whenever.
Yeah, and then if it looks sketchy, they can go show up on the door and be like, "Hey, where is this thing?"
Because that's how they. Is there timestamps on digital pictures sent?
Yeah,
I mean that it is possible. Yes.
Yeah.
With your camera, anytime you take a photo, a ton of information is saved.
Yeah.
Yep.
Details on that.
Even location, like 10 digit grid.
Yeah.
And that'll be important for 2 things. It can guide our future potential approaches during the second buck regulations. It could also, for example, provide an adjustment factor if we determine what rate of false reporting occurs to know that will still protect our data quality and integrity.
Brian's getting rid of his cameras.
Also, cautious to promise this, but
it's
I think we
be
have an opportunity to evaluate compliance with mandatory reporting parallel to this. So
we
we won't have people falsely reporting antlerless deer if they're not earning a second buck. But part of the process of this side-by-side paired treatment and control evaluation, we may have an opportunity to look at reporting of mandatory harvest in the other counties and continue to improve our knowledge of how this data can be used to track our harvest in the future. Again, that'll be a process as we head into the 2027 season, but continue those discussions to devise that evaluation.
That's what that lady from Michigan State
Thank you. I think the verification has to be fairly robust. So with DNR officers following up, I think that has to be a very robust effort. And I know that's extra resources, time, and in dollars spent by the department. But in order to hold accountability, if we're not going to have in-person check-ins, we have to have some way to try to get out there and manual put eyes on the situation to ensure that people are being good actors in this. So I'm encouraged to hear that. As far as the second buck tag, I do have some concerns about that being eligible to be used anywhere in the state.
Yes.
We've talked about this a little bit before back in June, and I'm kind of 2 minds. On one hand, I think it would drive participation. And if the idea is that we're tackling doe density, we want as great as participation as possible. However, currently in Michigan, we're making several big changes at once. With instituting the $1 rule, along with looking at, which is listed in the memo, some of the approaches that the department is taking and looking at research approaches to decrease harvest. I'm afraid we're running into a situation where we're going to have data bleed, and that we run a chance of skewing our metrics that we're going to receive from harvest data with OBR counties, along with earn a second buck, and even the impact it has on these research counties going on. And so in light of that, while I'd like to see as great as participation as possible in those earn a second buck counties to tackle deer density and potentially deer disease, I do think that we would be probably better served, at least right now, to have that second buck tag be only eligible for those 5 counties. And so I'm just very concerned about the
Wouldn't
data
that
bleed.
require
I feel like we're kind of
politicians to make a different tag?
I don't know, because the second tag is like,
yeah, because they're not changing any tags, they're just changing how you can buy them.
How you can buy them.
But they're also saying that you have to shoot the doe in that county, so that, I mean,
true.
So that's kind of. Like
but didn't they pass the DMU specific?
Yeah, they did do a DMU thing they're going to do. So they can. How does that work? They can adjust bag limits.
And maybe he's going to get into this next, but the also thing that I was thinking is like, what is it going to do to A, the doe population in those counties, and B, the influx of hunters? Like, if you have the entire,
that would suck.
But if you have the entire state going to 5 counties,
yeah,
or 4 counties or whatever it is, to hunt these, like you said, minimal amounts of public land.
Yeah.
You know, if you have no access, to try to get your hands on a second buck tag, like, should they make it some sort of a draw or like a limit to this, just for the simple fact of like the hunter density?
Yeah.
Like, you want to talk about like actually caring about the hunter, actually caring about the experience. Like, you think about like the amount of people that are on public land as it is, or if that is like truly a problem.
Yeah.
You know, what is that going to look like?
I know and then if you're over harvesting bucks in counties that don't have the high deer density, that's not good either. If guys are shooting their 1 doe a year down there, and then they go to like the northern lower and shoot 2 bucks up there, that's not good. Yeah. Not good for
like you said, like what's the point of the 1 buck rule?
Yeah, you're not going to know. You're going to be so skewed unless they can like say earn a buck tags were killed here. Like, you have to like track where they're getting filled.
But isn't that why we were like the earn a second buck thing is a bad thing to begin with, and now they're kind of like walking it back?
Yeah, like that's why it's going to be tough, because you don't know. You're going to have how many bucks got killed, and you don't know if earn a buck was shot in the test counties or if it got shot in the other counties.
Well, they should be able to have that data when you
register
it.
Yeah,
it's still going to be.
Yeah, I better be on it. Like,
have we established why there's an earn a second buck pilot?
Because the NRC wanted it.
Because we're upset because the hunters were mad, and probably
somebody wrote a nice email.
Well, but wasn't it because that came from Farm Bureau? Wasn't that like didn't they slide in right at the end with that?
Yes. They slid in right at the end, and it was Dave from the UP that actually put it forward with eliminate the UP from the 1 buck rule, and then on the end of that was tacked in the earn a second buck program. But I don't know if we've established. I mean, the only thing we've established is this pilot program will see if earn a buck works, but we don't know what the goal is.
Well, their goal is, they said it. The DNR said the one time to reduce population in those counties.
Okay.
And to have a balanced buck to doe ratio in the process.
Which in those counties.
No, in the state. Like the buck to doe thing is in the whole state.
I don't know if you can do that if you.
That's what we're saying. Like
if you allow that tag out of that county.
Correct.
Because that's not a control.
Correct. It's going. That's what Brandon was kind of saying. It's going to go. It could skew one of the control counties. Like,
for sure.
Like if you have the one that you're doing it, and then you're like doing one buck in another county, it's like, oh, that county's not too far away. I'll go get my second buck, and then I shoot both bucks in that county and no does.
Yep.
Your buck is going to show no doe harvest in that county, so it's going to be really hard to compare that. See if they
in years right now as a community with trying to establish scientific baseline
Skeeter
metrics, and we're doing a couple different big lever polls at once, and we all realize that there's complexity to that. And so while I'd like to see as much participation as possible, it just worries me that we might skew and skew that data moving forward for the different efforts. So I just throw that out there. I would really like to see the staff just kind of discuss that in a little bit more depth, especially before any actions that are taken in August. That's a concern of mine.
Thanks, Commissioner Fewens. Yeah, we've had discussion about both of those approaches. So to address a few of the things in order, regarding investigation processes, a follow-up, Chief Keefe can probably address that if we want to. And,
Chief Keefe.
And again, we'll continue to evaluate pros and cons. We'll continue to work with them on messaging on what folks will receive in the pop-up. We'll work with them on how we can share that information back and forth as reports being made. He could share some insights while also not entirely revealing how many contacts might be made and other things, so folks can't game the system if they're trying to figure out a way to get away with something. But yeah, we're confident it is an extra demand, but officers are good at their job. It's a little different regulation to think about, but we've got some tools available to assist in the process.
The bigger changes, the better.
Regarding, and just to be clear regarding potential restrictions on that buck tag, for other folks here listening, our thought was, it's not a foregone conclusion this is going to increase antlerless harvest, but we want this tool to be effective, right? So part of our approach here is a pilot for the evaluation. Part of it is thinking what's going to best motivate that extra antlerless harvest. And as you kind of alluded to, we feel having some flexibility where that second buck tag can be used can only be a benefit to get more people motivated to take that qualifying antlerless deer in those designated counties. At the same time, from our past harvest reports, we've seen, I think, something like 80% of folks that take 2 bucks take them in the same county, not even the same region, but the same county. So I still think the vast majority of people most likely would be using them in the same place. But having that flexibility, if they get an invitation to hunt elsewhere or have a deer camp elsewhere or whatnot, hopefully would be an extra motivation to try and really increase antlerless harvest.
If we hadn't made the change to the OBR, I would be all about that. And this, if it was, last year in the status quo. I just think that with making that change as well, we just have to be extremely careful that the data that we're getting from these efforts are as accurate as possible, and that's where my worry is.
I'll ask a clarifying question. I just want to understand what you're asking. So before we made this, if we make this change, if we make it to just those 5 counties, won't that put it just back to the regulation we had before 1 buck? I mean, like before May? Because if they can, what's going to motivate them to take more antlerless deer if before, when they could take 2 bucks in their county, they didn't take another antlerless deer? I just want to understand what you're trying to get at there.
Good question.
Well, I think in this situation, there would still be the motivation, because otherwise you would not be eligible for a second buck at all.
Yeah, so Commissioner Fewens, you're suggesting everything we've recommended here, just that the second buck tag, once they become eligible and purchase it, they have to use it
in the 5 counties.
In the 5 counties or in the same county that they do.
Correct. And once again, I'm just looking at it, and maybe I'm wrong. I'm not a scientist by any means, but I just see the potential to kind of skew data with some of these other efforts. Now, maybe that's a concern that's unfounded that I have. Maybe I'm just wrong.
I was going to say, really, it's a question. We asked them to develop a pilot. So the question is, are you worried about if that second buck, which we know will be a smaller number, is used outside those 5 counties in skewing our other data? in terms of one buck and what's occurring?
Yeah, there's two parts to it. For one thing, to make clear, any harvest that's reported is reported to a specific tag. So we'll know both the customer, the license, and where it's reported from. So anybody taking a buck on this second buck license tag will know that customer will know where it's reported from. So it's not going to be lost in the mix of knowing the impact of that tag. We'll know how many are taken and we'll know where they are reported from. Again, with the assumption that they are making that report. So we'll be able to sort that out and see, hey, how many people that then qualified by taking an antlerless deer in Berry County then took a buck in the UP or the Northern Lower or in the same county. We can sort that out on the data side. And then the broader evaluation of what is the impact of the regulation. I think as we will go through some of our proposal on how we're going to do the evaluation, and that we might be able to address that and other questions there too.
So let me just ask another follow-up question real quick, and then we can move on. Okay, so we can track where they're being taken, but doesn't that still skew the $1 rule data as far as the effectiveness or non-effectiveness of what we're trying to accomplish in those counties? I mean, if we're taking more bucks off the landscape than the OBR counties, that does alter the harvest data. I'm just kind of throwing that out there as thoughts that are bouncing through my mind with this.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, again, we'll also, and we refer to this as a second buck, but there's not a requirement to use the first buck tag before using the second one. It's just that that's the only way to get, a second one. And once again, we'll have information on all that. We already had information. We shared some before on the fill rate of the restricted versus the unrestricted tag on old combination licenses. We'll continue to have that as well as we would on the fill rate of all of these various tags. And in terms of the impact, again, we might be able to get into as we talk about the broader assessment of effects here. I guess there's two ways to look at it. Some folks would say, look, that we're identifying counties where we want to reduce deer numbers. A buck is a deer as well. It is a reduction. Obviously, we know the bigger management impact is trying to reach better antlerless harvest rates.
This guy's complaining about.
And then from the other side, that second tag being distributed more broadly. Well, for folks that are concerned, well, we've gone to $1 limit, and now you're reversing that for some number of people that'll be able to get 2 tags. There's at least a potential broader diffusion of where those second bucks are than saying you're focusing only people in these counties have the opportunity to take 2 bucks. There's some folks that are more concerned about that than they are about the impacts of antlerless harvest. I'm not saying that one view is right or wrong, but there's probably different points of view on whether it would be preferable to focus on those areas or to potentially disperse at least some of that elsewhere.
Well, let me just say real quickly that I just appreciate all the hard work that's gone into this. That's a very short time turnaround from when we voted in May, and your teams have done just an admirable job working to put this together. So I want to thank you guys.
Yeah, thanks, Commissioner.
Commissioner Easter.
Lay on some
Turn
wisdom.
your mic on, dude.
But I had, and I want to focus in on this being able to take a second buck and any other part of the debate. My initial reaction was to that was that I liked it. I thought it was a good idea. And so I don't think I've actually had any in-depth discussions with anybody about it. It's obviously that from the reaction from the folks here, there's some people that think it's a bad idea and want an opportunity to hear from them. I'm assuming they plan to speak to it. So it'd be good to hear why you oppose it. What I'm assuming that staff has heard from some already with regards to the reason they oppose it. And what was staff consideration against having that? But I just want to try and understand this issue better. So what reasons did you think of and dismissed that would play against providing that second tag any person else?
There were probably 2, and Sarah, you're probably part of the conversation as well, so you can chime in as well. I think there are really 2 things. One is a buck license or buck tag that's potentially only eligible to be used in one county or the cluster of counties or whatever is another very new thing. Already throwing a lot of new things at hunters, and so there was some reservation that it might be better just to say it's just like that old combination license restricted tag. It's for on a site anywhere you want to use it. The second was again really saying what's more likely to provide a higher motivation for antlerless harvest. We're going to evaluate the impacts in antlerless harvest, but we want this tool to be successful and more flexibility. You know, if someone's going to use it in the same county anyway, we think many of them will, probably doesn't matter. But hey, having an option, I don't have to. If I don't want to, I can hunt the county next door. I can hunt my uncle's property. I can go to deer camp in the Upper Peninsula. To our mind, that was really probably one of the biggest motivations, is that will be a bigger factor to increase antlerless harvest than having a product that's more restrictive with how they can use it.
Yeah, can I just really add, I think that the idea that you are allowed to use that in a separate county, I'm really in favor of it. I think it's going to, I think sounds like staff is included, it's gonna encourage participation in take a second buck.
How do you
refresh my memory on this, but what's the percentage of hunters that actually?
Will it only be like, they can't ever have it be everywhere, or it won't have the same results. Like if you did it like all across the entire state, it's not going to have the same results because people aren't going to go to those destinations to shoot them.
Yeah.
So is it just going to be like, all right, this year we pick these 4 counties?
Yeah, and like revolving.
Yeah.
Revolving. Yeah, I don't know. It's really.
Yeah, well, we know that this is going to go on for 4 years. That's what it's proposed as.
So, I mean, how do you even, what data can you even gather from that if you're not going to do it the exact same way going on from here?
It's not a scientific study. Like, it is not laid out as such. If you're allowing the variable to leave and go outside and create data elsewhere.
I mean, they can sort of keep track of that data, but like, what is the pilot for? Like, what's the pilot for?
Yep.
Like, what's it going to be? Unless it's going to be 5 counties every year for the rest of eternity, it doesn't really tell you anything.
Well, and again, to my original point, like, what if after 4 years you decimate the deer herd in these 5 counties?
Yeah.
Would that have happened? Because the control study, you would have to only allow hunters from that county to hunt there, or the normal amount of hunters to hunt there.
Yeah.
You can't allow an opportunity. I mean, there's a reason that, like, there's a limited number of tags for places that have a limited number of animals. You can't just, I don't know,
cram everyone in one spot.
Yeah. Because it's obviously going to drive a lot of people to go there to hunt those places.
I mean, would you, Adam?
Like I said, I have a place.
You have
the
UP, so
but it also doesn't really matter to me. Like, it's, you know, I'm again, I think with us and what we're doing and having these discussions.
Why wouldn't you buy that tag though? Like, why wouldn't I just buy the earn a buck tag? Because I live close enough that I could. Let's say I've shot a nice buck early in the year.
Well, you can't, because you said too much about 1 buck.
Yeah, I would say you got to stand on business. That's
I like 1 buck for everyone. I don't like 1 buck for me.
All right, we got to keep that
hard.
We take $2.
I'm going to put that right after.
About 3 to 6% in different regions.
Okay, and then so it's a very small number of hunters that actually take a second buck, and at that small number, you're saying that 80% of them take it in the same county.
Yeah, for those that report taking 2 deer, around 80% of them take both of them in the same county.
All right, so I think that
doesn't work.
It seems
You
to
can't
me
say
from the
because
data
now
you
you're
presented that
forcing them to do something different.
Right.
Yes.
It provides an opportunity that in the end probably
your numbers are going to change significantly.
Doesn't make much difference.
Those
in
hunters
terms
are going
of
to go to
actual
the
take
UP.
on the herd.
So there's
Is
a
that fair
portion of
to
them that are
say?
going to go to the
I
UP.
don't think
There's
it.
a
I mean,
portion of them that are gonna
we
go
may
to
see
these
a higher
others.
rate because it's maybe people that are highly motivated and so forth, but we
Thank
still,
you.
I still don't see that being phenomenally higher than what we've
How
generally
many
seen.
people go out of
And I will
state,
say
you
that
freaking idiot?
I
You
was-
just
I
told,
heard
you told us to go out of state.
surprising.
Exactly.
Oh, my
To me, it was a bit of a surprise. Number of hunters who opposed the 1 buck rule for the very reason that they were Southern Michigan hunters that maybe took a buck during, especially the bow hunters. They were concerned that they were no longer going to have an opportunity to go up north, that they had camps that they went to up north, traditional hunting up north that was not going to be available to them any longer. And I think that, I think for that reason alone, quite honestly, and given the minimal impact it's actually going to have on the herd, I think that having that opportunity to use that second tag anywhere in the state is a good idea. So, thank you.
Besides the veterans that Brett said, there was
I have a question for you guys, and I think Skeeter's probably the only one that's really old enough to have been there with me, like to remember like the 1 gun tag and 1 bow tag.
Yep.
Like, what do you think about like that, like the old school system? Like in this day and age, in this world, in this discussion that we're having right now about 1 buck, earn a buck, in that argument right there where they're like, oh, we can't have this anymore. Like, how do you think that would affect this argument?
There's always a workaround. Like, there's always a workaround. We did have that where it was one archery tag and 1 rifle tag if you were going to participate in both. But you remember, if you only participated in archery, you could get 2 tags. And if you only participated in rifle, you could get 2 tags. So, because you were eligible, and because the statute of limitations is passed, I will tell you there was multiple years I walked around with 4 buck tags in my pocket.
Yeah, I know lots of people.
Yeah, I know people that did the same thing.
But you remember when you just ripped them out of the book and all that stuff?
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
went to two
Yeah, and
places.
there was no registering anything, so it didn't matter.
But I'm just saying, in today's day and age, if they were to say that,
I think it would have a smaller impact than just the 1 buck, but it would have an impact.
and if you were to say like, maybe you said, okay, do you think, okay, so let's frame it this way. Do you think if you were to allow that with antler point restrictions, now you said you get 1 bow tag and 1 gun tag, and they both had antler point restrictions, but you got to gun hunt and you got to bow hunt.
Yep.
And because of that,
it'd protect it'd allow bucks to get older, like was one of the things we want to do. Higher age class.
Well, I'm not.
Like,
you are the birthday buck guy, not me.
But I'm saying that was one of the goals that the state of Michigan wanted, the DNR wanted, was to improve age class ratios, all that stuff. So yeah, if you had 2 buck tags and they both had APRs, it would be proven that less bucks would get shot.
But having the 1 tag in your pocket with a bow, do you think more guys would shoot does because they would only have the 1 tag? They would probably still want to shoot something, and they would still have a tag for the gun season.
So all of this stuff that we talk about, we're constantly brainstorming things that can be done. When we've got multiple states that we all visit that have figured this out and said, like, everyone that we're going to this year, all of us, you get 1 archery tag.
Yep.
And then your second tag, if your state has one, it becomes available when rifle season starts.
Yes.
Yeah. So essentially it's already in place. Like, we could cut and paste this program from Missouri, Kansas, Iowa,
yeah.
Ohio.
Ohio. You get,
like I say,
Illinois, you get a buck.
I'm just curious because that's something that keeps coming up, and it just came up there. Like, he wasn't aware of how many people wanted to do this, and that's just what used to happen a long time ago, and it just seems like, why reinvent the wheel?
Exactly.
It's hard to make money if you don't reinvent the wheel.
Like, maybe we should do a pilot study by
third
using
minor
somebody else's
factor,
program.
which was we've had a lot of concern from folks about
You
too much
can't do that
pressure
in
on
Michigan
public
because we're
land.
different.
Right.
So with the antlerless
We're the middle.
harvest, if we put a lot of pressure on deer on the public land on antlerless harvest, we kind of want that because overall the county antlerless population is going to decrease, which will decrease the population. However, it's a much more difficult opportunity in those counties to get permission to hunt bucks on private land. And so that would mean that then a lot more hunters would have to go to public land to hunt that second buck. So that's just a little bit more of a conflict with overpopulation of people trying to fight on the resource. And so we just thought, let those people go elsewhere, distribute where those public land only hunters can hunt, so that we don't get everyone flocking to the small areas of public land in those areas.
Commissioner Walters, did you have something?
I do. So I think it's obvious that with the first deer tag, anybody can shoot a buck or a doe, depending on where you're located, anywhere in the state, based on Northwest 13 or the UP. It would have antler point restrictions, but a hunter can use that first license anywhere they wish. When I first heard of the earn a second buck tag to be also used anywhere in the state, I was completely opposed to it, and frankly thought that it should be in the county in which the antlerless deer was taken. I really like what Commissioner Fewens brought forward, in that this is a pilot program, and this is in my opinion, a specialty product that we're putting out for a pilot. And the 5 counties in which the activity of the pilot is being conducted, those counties ought to be the ones where the antlered or antlers, the second tag, ought to be used. I recognize that we will be collecting data on the OBR. We'll be collecting data on the earn a second buck. Once we start intermingling those, we dilute the effectiveness of the data altogether. It struggles me to figure out, and have you figure out for us, what do we consider success and what do we consider failure if we're muddying the water on where that second buck is harvested. I recognize we're going to have few hunters in general entering into the earn a second buck program, but I think we need to keep them siloed.
One question I have is, what's our variability on license buyers every year? We have an open entry system that we keep forgetting about. This isn't a quota system, so we're open that people can buy a deer license, and it either goes up or down. During COVID, we saw a nice little bump up, which was nice for everyone. It's been diminishing or going down since then, but how much does that vary in the state?
Yeah, I remember asking Bryan Frawley to do a recent summary. I mean, I don't remember what it was. I can get that back to you. But I think what you're talking about is, yeah, we often report on the number of licenses and or the number of licensed hunters each year, but that population is not fixed. There's always some people that are not hunting every single year, and there's people that come in and out. And I don't know if folks have, or marketing outreach folks have an idea of that kind of churn rate, how many folks are not buying them in consecutive, years each year. It's one of the things I constantly refer to in terms of evaluating how hunters might adjust to the 1 buck regulation as one example. Not every hunter hunts every year. It may take hunters a few years, several years, before they even have 2 seasons under their belt under a 1 buck restriction to think about how that's going to affect them. So we can bring that information for you. I don't want to hazard memory on what that might be.
Brent, can you give me the physical number of second bucks taken in the past 2-3 years, average number, physical animals, not percentage, but give me the physical animal number?
I mean, I think from our harvest report numbers, if I recall, is around 22,000 bucks are a second buck. And Chad is here and might remember having on hand. I've got numbers back in my bag as well, but I can follow up before we conclude here too.
And this probably is not going to answer today, but in the future, how many of those 22,000 bucks taken, how many of those hunters took a doe at some point in the season?
Good question. I don't know if we have that breakdown either. We have plenty of information about the number of people that take multiple deer, and that might be part of what you're getting at. It's relatively small that are taking, people that will benefit from, have a tangible benefit from this second buck license will have harvested 3 deer, and that's I think in single percentage points of numbers of hunters statewide that take 3 or more deer of any combination, all antlerless, you know, $2 and 1 antlerless, 2 antlerless and $1. So,
Okay.
yeah.
I like them.
Have we done the math, like through a 5-year, if we had this for 5 years, have we done the math at taking an extra, let's say, 25,000 does? And I do believe that people are going to hunt that second buck. If they have to shoot a doe, it's possible they might shoot 50,000 doe because they're not going to shoot that second buck. They're just not going to see the deer that they can shoot or that they want to shoot. So have we done the math at the impact of residual fawns not being born and the algorithms that go with it that say in 10 years we could have 500,000 less doe on the land or less deer on the landscape? Have we done that math?
No, we haven't yet. Now we can move into the evaluation side again. We're designing how we'll do the side-by-side comparison to also do those types of evaluations. We can do some projections like that. We've been buried enough in trying to develop this design that we haven't taken the step to do anything like that yet. Yeah, Commissioner, but good question then.
Okay. And I think during, as we were moving up to this meeting, you mentioned that if there is demand, then we can expand the test counties appropriately going forward.
Yeah, we talked about that in our kind of paired evaluation. So,
okay, thank you.
Okay, I'll let you move on.
Okay.
Evaluation.
So regulation evaluation, again, meeting the criteria or the expectations established for us here. We have proposed, I've already identified them for you here, tip my hand a little bit, the 5 treatment or earn a second buck counties. Again, we're proposing 5 control non-earn a second buck counties to be paired with those for part of this evaluation process. We're recommending a 5-year duration of consistent regulations in this pilot. That would be for a couple of reasons. First of all, it'd be the last 2 years of this 2026 to 2028 deer reg cycle. It's not starting until 27. It would be maintaining these treatment and control counties for the entire 2021.
What was he saying?
So,
Elliot,
what was the?
We're like 10 minutes behind.
Yeah,
I
think we're through it though. This is when Eister actually asked a question about the UP.
Yes.
Late season archery. Here, step closer.
Yeah, step closer.
Here,
Quick, say
I'll
that.
hop out.
Eric's on the end, so whatever works. Yeah, hop on this there, fellow beefcake. All right, so yeah, tell us about what you were saying there.
So, when Eister raised his hand to talk for clarification,
Please refer to him as Commissioner Drunk Uncle.
Drunkle,
Yeah.
Commissioner Drunkle. So when he asked his question, he asked about the late season in the UP and the effects on the archery. If people still be able to take the second buck in the UP. Well, he was the very commissioner who proposed because one senior hunter in the UP asked to have the crossbows in the late season under the senior tag. So the man completely forgot his very own resolution that he brought forward for the May meeting and voted yes for and passed.
Yes.
And then in the same breath says, well, I had some Zone 3 guys complain about the $1 because, especially during archery, if they fill their $1 tag, then they can't go to camp and, shoot a second buck, the opportunity. Well, the vast majority of camps are in the UP, and they voted to keep status quo. So if I bought the combo tag with 1 deer tag, either sex,
Yep.
and the antlerless, I could still fill during bow season my either sex on a buck.
Yep.
Hold my antlerless down here, go to the UP during gun season for camp, and shoot a
Exactly.
second buck, which is the very amendment that Nyberg brought forward that he voted yes for and passed.
Yes.
So the very people that are making these decisions forgot not 2 months ago what they even voted to bring
Yes.
in.
Well, I think he hunts up in Alpena, so it doesn't count for him. I think somebody that from his camp was bitching at him that when you go up north to camp in Alpena, where he goes, it's not going to work out for him.
You have to cross the bridge.
Well, again, though, the bulk of the deer camps are in the UP. And
then they bring up, well, what's the percentage of people that shoot a doe? 20% of all hunters shoot a doe. And then the other thing they bring up is, well, what's the percentage of hunters that fill a second tag? The problem lies is you're lumping the UP in, which is like 2 to 3.
Yes.
Northern lower, which is like 3 to 4% into that. And then zone 3 guys are anywhere from 8 to 10%. So the bulk of the second bucks are being shot in zone 3. And then, like for me, and this is my gripe, and I'm glad Fewens brought it up, and so did Walters. So I live 3 miles from the Lapeer County line.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 15 miles from Lapeer State Game. So I can drive, and I actually have farms a mile across the border in Lapeer County. So I could go fill my doe tag real easy and then come to Tuscola and kill 2 bucks. So I get my 3 deer. We're going to skew the data there.
They're going to skew the 1 buck data.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's going to make it look like in those counties that touch the earn a second buck that we're not killing the does and we're just shooting all the bucks. When the reality is it's skewed data because the doe, and it's going to make the earn a second buck county look good because the doe harvest is going to go through the roof in that county.
The buck harvest will go down.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
It's just.
Yeah, like I don't live too far away from a couple counties, and I'm like, well, I could make extend a weekend or do that early doe. Like, well, let's go down there and shoot one, and then I could have 2 tags to use anywhere I want in the state.
Well, and
if I don't shoot any more does but the one, I'm not really helping move the needle very much in those other areas of the state. You're maybe increasing doe harvest in the control counties, but then I'm doing the same or worse to the other counties because I'm probably not going to be the only guy. I shoot more than 1 doe a year, but still.
And the other problem I have too, so they brought up a CO may come to your house, right? So I'll use our guys as an example because our guys have to patrol Belle Isle. One of them has worked 35 shifts on Belle Isle. So for 35 days, he's not in Tuscola County.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, early archery, Belle Isle's still going on. He's down there. I shoot a second buck, and I get this, notification. When are my COs going to have time to even come and do that?
Yeah.
Again, if we're going to do
it's going to have to be over the phone.
Well,
that's what we were saying, make a phone call. Yes.
No,
we exactly talked about that. Take a picture. We talked about Kansas.
And in Kansas, you got to pull it from the app. So you can't just take a picture, upload to the app. You actually have to open the app, take the 2 verification pictures, and then everybody's like, well, what happens if I'm not in no cell service? Well, in Kansas, it holds in the cloud.
Yes.
As soon as you get service, then it blows in, and it's already time-stamped, so that 72-hour thing is out of the window because it time-stamped when it hit the cloud.
Yes.
There's so many ways to skin this cat.
But, yeah, I think it's because Michigan built their own app, didn't they? Because, Kansas and Iowa have the same app. It's different name, but it's the same thing.
Go Iowa. Yeah.
So Michigan has their own app, but it would be very easy for them to essentially cut and paste in because they're all. It's all IT.
The data's
stuff, right?
there, yeah.
Right.
The system's in place.
You take for me in the railroad, right? I have a system that I do all of my. I build all the trains. I classify the trains, move cars, the whole 9 yards. CSX has their own, NS has their own, CN, all these railroads have their own. They're all essentially very similar. They're just tweaked to that railroad. So it'd be no different in this situation. Michigan would have their own app. It's just tweaked slightly different. But to sit here and say that they got to reinvent the wheel isn't accurate at all.
Yeah. Yeah. But we agree that picture process is one of the first things we brought up, too, because we've hunted Kansas and shot deer there, and very seamless.
Well, and in Virginia, they're actually complaining about that. They're bringing up hey, we need to bring this picture side in like Kansas. And if I'm not wrong, or I shouldn't say, I don't believe it's inaccurate that Virginia is trying to implement the picture side of things.
Yes, we know, Matt. We were behind. We were pausing it on purpose so we can talk about it instead of over talking so bad. I'll try to get your comment to show up here.
I'm glad actually you guys are out here because my blood pressure was going through the roof. So it's this is a nice step away.
Yep.
Well, it's just again, it falls into the fact that we were trying to simplify. That was the beauty of the
29 to 20
is trying to simplify the rule book and try to make it easier. And now we're overcomplicating it. It's this rule and this rule and this rule and this rule. and the commission's forgetting what they even voted on, and so they're expecting us to be able to keep tabs on all of this.
Yes, exactly.
Where the way it was simple across the board.
Yeah, I know. Now we're just diluting it, like
A
Walter
31 3-year deer reg cycle. So that's that 5-year
said. We're
stability.
like 20 minutes behind.
Although to be clear, evaluation will really be based on 4 years of data.
We'll catch up
because,
after that
as
break.
always, we're wrapping up a deer season just a couple months short of
Thanks,
pulling our
Elliot.
recommendations together
Appreciate you,
for
man.
what the future
Can you
cycle will
slide down a
be.
little
So
bit? I only got
essentially,
like
we'll
1.5
have the
butt cheeks on
27,
this
My bad.
thing.
28, 29, and 30 years of data. If you stick with us on this proposal here to inform
Oh,
the
dude,
regulations for the
half of it's asleep
2023
right
to
now.
24 deer regulation cycle. As folks referred to here, it's a pretty conservative approach with having some stability, but I think it's especially warranted given we also have a single antler deer limit in the Lower Peninsula that we'll also be trying to evaluate broader kind of impacts from and sorting out that effect from what the earn a second buck package would offer. So Commissioner Erdley's point, we may be in a position if we have really outstanding early results to recommend some additional counties or expansion, but we really want to stay fixed on keeping earn a second buck regs in place where we settle on them being in place and keeping them out of the controlled counties so we get a good comparison involved. So talking about those a little more and our evaluation approach. This is I think on page 3 of the memo.
Just going over.
So I've already mentioned for you, we had the earlier blue map showing the treatment counties are Hillsdale, Kalamazoo, Berry, Ingham, and Lapeer as we proposed. And those are each a different color.
This is a simple
And then the other set of 5 counties paired with them, Hillsdale, as they earn a second buck county, we would pair with Lenawee County. Both of them are green. As Lenawee being the control, Kalamazoo in red, we pair with Washtenaw in red as the control, and so forth. So once again, only half of these counties would ever earn a second buck regs in place. Half of them would be the controls, and we'll talk about how those were selected here in a moment. Also highlighting these crosshatched counties in here, and there might have been some reference to this before. Each of those areas has some other type of research ongoing, looking at non-regulatory approaches and ways to increase antlerless harvest. So things like using donation programs, things like pairing up farmers and hunters, things like looking at damage permits and other things that have been issued, and just trying to understand how we can build some more capacity or motivation for people to take antlerless deer. So we avoided looking at any of those counties. We don't want to confound any successful efforts there and conclude earn a second buck had an impact when it might have been these other efforts that are ongoing.
That makes sense.
So again, for now, we prefer to avoid those because we don't want to confound this effort of evaluation as we move forward. So how did we, apart from excluding some of those from selection, how did we look at this pool and identify these areas for these recommendations? A couple different things. First of all, we call our local biologists heading into this last reg cycle gave their estimate of increasing, decreasing, and stable trends on the previous 5-year population trends. They did the same for the desired future trends. We started looking at those, really identify places where we have a desire to explore additional regulations to potentially increase antlerless harvest. We also looked as another counter the previous 10-year trends in deer vehicle collisions, again, whether they're increasing, decreasing, or stable, trying to find some pretty similar trends that there were not any major departures on dramatic changes in one county that weren't mirrored in another, for example. We also tried to avoid areas where we had recurring large number of episodic hemorrhagic disease mortalities reported, either because that's a potential population impact or, again, hunters often respond to the concerns about those outbreaks. So that led to some areas that we avoided. Certainly some of these places still have had reports, but that was one of the other considerations. And then once we looked at that kind of total pool of areas and had some thoughts on pairings, I talked to our local biologist to ask if there were any other management issues or think that we were just overlooking that would potentially rule a county out or make counties not valid or useful for the paired comparisons. And then from that pool, we then made the pairs by identifying counties that had as close to same or similar as possible on total hunter harvest, what the past proportion of antlerless and antlered deer was in their harvest. So counties look pretty similar, but one of them, tended to have 55% antlerless harvest, another one was 45%. That's not a good comparison. We wanted to be on similar footing there. We looked at similar number of permittees and deer removed under deer damage dirt damage shooting permits or crop damage permits, so similar issues that they're contending with things like crop damage.
Yeah.
We looked at pretty general metrics on land cover, so the proportion of these counties that are designated as agriculture, forest, and developed land, for example, and tried to find some variability, so some with a little bit more development and residential kind of areas that have them be similar levels. And then also a similar proportion of public land, so we did have some areas that had a potentially different ability for access based on the proportion of public land available. And then again, we recommended then a variety of treatment and control counties also that have chronic wasting disease that's been documented or hasn't been documented. We expect that may change, obviously, over these coming years, but a little bit of variability there. You'll notice some of our core areas, we have some areas as part of the prior research that have chronic wasting disease, larger issues. We also just have challenges in places like Montcalm, where the most of our cases have been reporting. There's not a great control to pair. There's not a great treatment to pair with a place like Montcalm, where we've had the vast majority of our CWD things, CWD cases reported. So, in trying to find that true pilot evaluation, those are some of the criteria that we developed. And then again, just looking at 5 counties and 5 years as what we think will be sufficient to provide a quality amount of data, even accounting for invariably unforeseen instances like big EHD outbreaks are the things that always kind of cloud data. So we have some complications like that. We still have a large enough area we think that we recommend to be able to account for or deal with those things that inevitably come when you have a natural experiment like this. So ultimately, a lot of details here. Again, we're recommending a variety of approaches here to build a licensed product, which will have the time to work with our vendor to be able to establish and get stuff running. We're looking at the approach for authorizing that earn a second buck bonus tag to be as seamless as possible to maximize that hunter benefit. So there's a higher motivation for antlerless harvest in these areas. We're building this proposal for these 5 paired treatment and control counties for that 5-year pilot so that we can enable a thorough evaluation of earn a second buck as an ongoing tool. We most certainly will provide annual updates and a final summary to address harvest outcomes, enforcement activities, false reporting and data quality. We didn't mention much, but as was discussed, we will certainly look at impacts on buck harvest and other things as well. Our expectation and your expectation of us was especially look at this as a tool for antlerless harvest, but we certainly have the data to do the evaluation of impacts of earn a second buck on buck harvest as well, since it's part and parcel of the data that we'll be using on the antlerless side. And once again, we've got a few things to work out on how some of the research and external contracts will work in the process, but we have until the 2027 ramp up with the discussions we've already started to be on good footing to have those things all worked out.
People to help with this?
And if there's anything I missed,
no idea.
You will let me know. And appreciate the attention and good questions so far. Happy to guys.
No, I don't care that.
Okay.
It's not.
Yeah, Bryan, can you go back to the slide that has the hatched area on the counties that are under? Yeah, right there. Can you either today or in the future, can you give us what's going on in those hatched counties? How long they've been in place? Are they effective? What are we getting out of that? Is it we're doing this for 5 years for earn a second buck? What is that hatched area?
Yeah, if you like, if Dwayne's here, you can give some of the context on what these are right now. We definitely can.
Treatment,
again, following up, provide additional information in process, and these are in various stages of timelines also.
Increased dough harvest with donation programs.
Thanks, Dr.
So they don't want to
Thank
skew
you,
data
Kristen
with
and
this
Chair Humphreys. I'm Dwayne Header, our research specialist with Wildlife Division.
We're going to help.
To give you some background on these different projects and they're non-regulatory, the 5 counties that are in the thumb area are a project we're conducting with Dr. Emily Pomerantz at MSU. She's a perm faculty member. That project is specifically to look at barriers or opportunities for hunters and landowners to engage to increase antlerless harvest. So we're doing that through a series of surveys that we've conducted, and then using those survey results, we're going to have meetings with landowners and hunters in those counties to try to get over some of those barriers or provide more opportunities. We're in year 1 of that project. It's a 2-year project, so that would end at the end of the fiscal year 2027. So the 4 counties in the center are a project. It's a multi-state project. We call it the Objective 4 project. It comes out of the CWD consortium, which is a national organization that meets to discuss research. That project would actually take the results that we find from the project in the thumb area and try to apply those results. So, for example, if we find out that access to refrigerated trailers might increase opportunities for hunters to want to harvest antlerless deer, we would actually put those trailers in place and make them available to hunters in those counties. So that's some of what we're looking at with the 4 counties in the center. The last county, Kent County, Kent County has a deer management consortium that they formed, which is part of the county road commission, USDA, Wildlife Services. They're going to be focused on, again, trying to get hunters and landowners to cooperate more effectively, to increase out-of-season kill permits, potentially to have urban deer hunts and targeted removal of deer in areas where they have high traffic volumes of deer road collisions. That project, I don't have a timeline. When it ends, it started this year. The 4 counties in the center, the Objective 4 counties, we're in year 0 of a 6-year project there. So that project will kick off here. We have some work that's going to begin probably in the winter, late winter.
Yeah.
Commissioner Walters.
That's what Aaron uses.
Have you analyzed the cost
guys. It
to the
works,
division on the pilot itself?
but yeah,
And have you gotten an estimate
I think
from your
so.
vendor
Unless
on
he
the
edits
cost of
all that
licensing?
after. Wow.
And can you share that with us?
Yeah, our cost for our basic changes for the harvest reporting and other implementation that would be needed based on what I laid out here is about a $30,000 expense. We asked for quotes on potentially incorporating image uploading and other aspects as well, and especially to be able to have an AI validation, so folks aren't uploading inappropriate images that are going on a state server, or even just screening that, yes, this is an antlerless deer. Including all of that would be a total cost up to about $125,000. So making the changes that we've asked for our reporting system and photo uploading and AI validation, it goes up to about $125,000. So the basics, what we required here, are requested here, about $30,000. The other aspects regarding how some of the evaluation and research and
Do we rewind that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that
Maybe
was,
go back to regular speed. Nah, we're good.
Go back. Ooh, minute.
and other implementation that would be needed based on what I laid out here is about a $30,000 expense. We asked for quotes on potentially incorporating image uploading and other aspects as well, and especially to be able to have an AI validation, so folks aren't uploading inappropriate images that are going on a state server, or even just screening that, yes, this is an antlerless deer. Including all of that would be a total cost up to about $125,000.
So to get pictures on the app only costs $125,000.
Mm-hmm.
That seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
To be able to do pictures on the app, only $125,000. Do it.
But that means the price of a tag or your license is going to go up by $1.
Yeah, but they can't change that.
They can't change that.
Dude,
oh, man.
There's a whole bunch of money and stuff that's getting wasted on dumber things.
Yeah.
Like, that's what we have the...
Panfish studies?
Yeah.
Get out of here. Leave
Stocking. Leave some...
Look,
catch
fishing,
less
the fishing
panfish,
program's
less...
successful. Leave it alone.
Catch less panfish so you don't have to spend so much money in stocking.
Making the changes that we've asked for our reporting system and photo uploading and AI validation, that goes up to about $125,000. So the basics, what we required here, are requested here, about $30,000. The other aspects regarding how some of the evaluation and research and other external partner things, we don't have yet, because we're in process and there's some variety of approaches we could use for those. I don't know if there's much else external costs on the more basic evaluation of harvest outcomes and other things. They'll largely be working with Dwayne and our research team, so it's mostly a personnel cost of their work planning around prioritizing this, unless you've got any other expenses you've envisioned being part of it. Yeah, not at this time. So that'll be, it would be, those types of evaluations are specific to this pilot, but I'd also suggest they're part of our broader work to also look at evaluation and being adaptive in our regulatory approaches. So, so yeah, primarily licensing changes, 30,000 anywhere up to 125,000, depending on what those licensing and software upgrades or changes would be. And then we will have some research budgets, as Dwayne mentioned. Emily Pomerantz is part of our partnership in ecosystem research and management. So some of her time is already covered by agreements. But if we have graduate students or other things that would be part of a more in-depth evaluation, there'll be some extra research costs.
And if they were to put
yeah, it'll be mostly changes in staff time. So, staff are going to work the 2,080 hours that they work. It's just a matter of what I assign them to work. So, this will be assigning them this work, which will take them away from work we previously were going to do, but it's all work. So I'm trying to evaluate the change. It's just a matter of they're going to be working, but now this is going to be added to their plate.
I've heard a number of $500,000 just for the licensing change. Is that inaccurate?
Yeah.
Where might that number come from? Any idea?
I think early on that was a loose estimate, and then when we gave the vendor more information about what was needed, then that price came way down.
And recognizing that we have budgetary constraints, are you comfortable with the number that you're providing us now?
So I had to make a dedication of that funding already. It's sitting there ready to be applied to the vendor as soon as we know if you guys pass this, because it has to come out of this fiscal year. So I had to set that money aside already. And that money came from vacancy savings. We're holding about 23 permanent employee vacancies right now. So since those people are not getting a paycheck, I was able to pull that money aside and dedicate it to this effort.
Population control, regulate deer hunting.
So that'll work at the timeline of finalizing in August again, our timeline for implementation, but also for being able to get those monies dedicated for the changes and get that process rolling.
The monies.
Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you. Greatly appreciate all the effort that's gone into
That's
this.
so funny that they have the funding.
Thanks for the attentiveness and the really good questions.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
here we are still talking about it.
You're going to get us current?
Do we want to know CWD stuff?
No.
No.
We already know that if we just control the population, disease will go down. That's how
Does it have
science
baiting
works.
though in it?
I think it was 2 separate ones.
Thank you.
Skeeter disappeared. I was going to see if you could get us.
I think they're doing public comment now, would be my guess.
Are they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, hurry up! Get to the unicycle guy.
I think that's what I'm trying to see here.
Go over the public appearance guidelines. While she's doing that, I will note there's a legislative report.
Sorry, we skipped CWD.
Before the end of the day last Friday to speak.
Yeah, I'm sure
You have 5 minutes to give your comment. If you have not signed up previously and would like to give comment today, just see Victoria in the back, and she will let us know to put you in the lineup.
It'll catch up
When you
at some
have
point.
1 minute left, I will hold up the 1 minute sign. When your time is up, I will hold up the time please sign, and we ask that you please bring your comments to a close. And if you could please state your name for the record, and also keep an eye on the time. Thank you.
Great. With that, Marcy, you are
What
first
is the
up.
one bike person count? Oh, Marcy.
I think it's number 2 or 3.
Okay.
Number 2.
I wonder if she ever responded to Skeeter's email.
Marcy Tremont. We periodically hear about Pittman, Robertson, and Dingle Johnson acts, the funds that contribute in part to conservation measures. The consumptive faction of the greater public does indeed play a part with permits and fees, etc. They also tend to wield it as some badge of entitlement, as one commenter did here recently, alleging that to be why those of us who prefer wild ones alive and well, rather than a life-stolen carcass, should have no say in policymaking. But wildlife agencies and wildlife conservation sit in very different camps. True conservation, like habitat restoration, preserving wetlands and forests, include seeing wild ones in all their ecological and intrinsic value, proactively protecting those species who comprise our natural world, plus having foresight to anticipate factors that are or may threaten them and take appropriate steps to prevent that harm. Much of the non-consumptive contributes through financial support of organizations that embrace the importance of healthy biodiverse environments, as well as through taxes, land gifts, and so on. But our wildlife agencies frequently focus more on maintaining and artificially provoking a greater abundance of prey animals, not to effect biological balance, but to provide recreational opportunities for the contingent who recreate by killing for sport, often at the expense of our essential natural predators, even promoting slaughter and condoning killing contests. A couple weeks ago, in a meeting
That's a lot of fun.
of my state, I heard something awful. Now, because I've been living wild ones advocacy for more than a minute, I wasn't surprised by the reveal, but more by the nonchalance of source divulging the wake-up activity.
Marcy,
gotta
you
take
might
your
want
clothes
to
off
change,
and then
trade
run
the
out
other
in the
microphone
woods.
so we can better hear you.
Get to go
Does that
hunt
work?
just butt naked.
That familiar tone was an arrogant blank the laws. I want to share a portion here from another document. There is a persistent and pervasive mindset among some in the hunt community that we will trap, shoot, and kill any animal we want, and no one is going to tell us we can't, end quote. That's dated January 2014. Earlier this year, a Michigan legislator
That's
used the
about the only
standard sky is
reason I
falling
would be out
ruse of
there
wolf numbers
naked, 'cause
exploding.
if I did
In
that.
reality, the science tells us and data shows us these populations self-regulate
No,
with
no.
expected fluctuations, arriving at and maintaining ecological equilibrium or carrying capacity, as the department's own metrics reflect.
right,
We are
thanks, Matt,
dramatically
for
more
that date.
informed on our wild at this stage in our history. Behind us, the ignorance of an extirpation war against wolves and wild ones, destructive attacks on the interactive rhythm of vibrant wild biosystems, and astonishing disregard for the sentience and agency of the wild ones who preceded us, already living in symbiosis on the lands we chose to invade. Research and voluminous peer-reviewed studies have yielded stunning revelations about their intelligence and complexity of their social structures. During a Q&A at a wildlife presentation, I asked how the cruelty and abject torture inflicted on the wild through trapping was acceptable. An old guy seated near me turned and said, "They're just animals." That was over a decade ago. He's probably dead by now. But it's demoralizing and shameful that same reprobate intransigence still infests every aspect of our current policy machine. Killing is not conservation. Can we fix that? We could, but will we? Wildlife exploitation orders invariably mean
Recognize
wild
her without
ones,
the
targeted
beret.
or not, will suffer and die for
Must
no
not have been at like some
expletive
animal
reason.
funeral today.
I
'Cause
think
she's not
that's
wearing black.
unacceptable.
Mm-hmm.
Must be laundry day.
Thank you. Alan Johnson.
It's got the old
This is the guy.
Canadian tuxedo.
Is this
Yep,
the
this is the unicycle guy.
Unicycle.
He looks like a unicycle guy.
To say you all pay attention closely, and I noticed that. That's nice. And Scott, if I may use your first name, you remind me of someone who's heard a good joke lately. That's your smile's nice. My name's Alan Johnson. I'm a retired air traffic controller.
Did he wink at me?
I am a veteran from the Air Force. I'm a local pilot, and I'm an author of 6 books. And I love camping in the state parks here in the state. Recently, we were told that. Well, let me start like this. What I'm asking for is something similar to what you guys have already done. You did a pilot program in August of 24 for electric bikes, and you guys approved that, and they're used in state parks now. What I'm looking for is something similar. You guys have already done most of the heavy lifting for it, but I'm looking for a pilot program for one-wheel electric bikes. When I was told, I was surprised that they're not allowed in parks, but when I was told they're not, my father-in-law and I, we went and met with one of the park managers, showed him what we had, and asked him, why aren't these allowed?
And he looked at it and he says, to be honest, he goes, I would put those more in the category of electric bikes. And he said he would not have a problem with allowing those in his park. He said his only concern is that he wouldn't want to see them on pass. And I can see that. I would have a problem with them being just on paved surfaces. He also said that as long as you're geared correctly, so you're safe, and you respect the speed limit in the park, then he would find it okay. I know in the past on the other topic with the electric bikes, the concern was speed. But there's a speed limit in the park already. Cars can go 100 miles an hour. I always drive the speed. Almost everybody does. So the speed shouldn't really be a topic because it's already a legal speed limit. So you need to recognize that no matter what your vehicle can do. As you saw across the country, and as this country modernizes, you see electric vehicles become more and more prevalent. As a matter of fact, every one of us has seen those electric scooters in the corners here in the city of Lansing. Cities across the country are offering
what is a
electric
one-wheeled
scooters.
bike?
So it's becoming
It's
more and
that
more
big
popular.
wide-tired skateboard looking
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
Well, I think you can sit on some
Unfortunately,
of them
are
too.
electric bikes there because they're not allowed.
Oh,
But you
yeah,
check with the
free
city
time,
manager,
Brian.
and they said they're very well.
Unicycle,
We
electrically.
had to go to the city to ride around. It was a
Electric.
great time, but we want to be able to ride
Yeah.
in state
I
parks
think
where
he
it's
was talking
comfortable,
about the
it's
city
family
limit.
oriented,
That's what it's
and
called.
we like being there.
Yeah.
We camp 6 to 8
I have no
weeks a
idea.
year. We've got a camping trip coming up in September that we would love to be able to ride it. I don't know how fast this stuff moves.
Pretty sure
But
you
if
can
it moves
sit on
fast enough,
anything,
we
Brian.
can do it
You're
without program.
supposed to.
Then that would be
If you're
fantastic.
brave enough.
So I don't know of any places in the state of Michigan besides
got
state
one
parks
wheel, I'll
where
sit
they
on
don't
it.
allow this. And since they've already approved a pilot program, and the only feedback they've gotten that's any concern was from some people saying
Yes,
electric
I think
bikes
he
are
is.
fast
He
and
is
they want.
for him.
I thought he was
I
going to
would
be
be okay
like,
with being
wrong.
restricted to
yeah,
paved
me too.
surfaces.
Yeah, he's an electric
And I don't see a
unicycle
problem with it.
enthusiast.
Enthusiast.
I don't know if you guys are allowed to go back
Doesn't
and
look
forth,
it,
or that's
but-
just one thing, but I welcome it.
I wasn't going to expect a Air Force
Any
veteran.
questions? Any
No,
questions?
like he said, Air Force veteran though.
Here, I presume Craig, you'll
Yeah.
go back and take a look at
Yeah,
the order.
It does make
again,
sense, though.
Craig Burnett, I'm not the director, I'm sitting in for the director, but if we can, I'll get your contact information.
My
We'll
whole
ask the
thing
Parks
is I
and
don't think we
Recreation
need
Division,
pause
get a
for
hold of you, and
everything.
have a conversation. see
Just
what we
don't
can
act a fool.
That would be fantastic. I really
Don't
appreciate
start
that.
none, there won't be none.
do. Thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
forward.
I wonder why they don't want them.
B?
Like,
You're up.
I think it's just not classified.
You're ready. You look like you're standing on deck.
What's she talking about today?
You didn't get a packet?
I didn't get it back.
did you read through the packet last one?
I did. It was
Did you
fine.
research some of it?
A little bit. It was interesting. I loved, like, so these guys love their passion. Love their passion. I love that they take their time to do this, to speak their mind. But what they say is so contradicting. It's hard to follow without actually reading exactly what they're saying. And I can see their points in some things, but then they just bury their point with bullshit. And when you do that in a conversation, it pulls
Good morning,
me out of
everyone.
it.
My name is
Because
Dee
it's
Friedlander,
nonsensical at
and
that
I
point.
represent Attorneys for Animals. I'm speaking today about Wildlife Conservation Order Amendment Number 8
muskrat
of 2026 in particular, but
Dude, are
about
we still going
trapping more
1.5
generally.
times?
This
She's talking
WCO
slow.
is
I think so.
essentially corrective
not.
in
They
nature,
weren't caught up.
and it's in
No,
response
she just sat
to
down.
concerns expressed to the DNR staff by several Upper Peninsula trappers.
Yeah, we're still at
The
1.35.
WCO goes on to say that after thought, they decided to address other issues, noting that this may likely be viewed similarly by stakeholders. My question today to you is, how does the DNR and this commission define stakeholders? Is your definition broad enough to encompass Michiganders who do not trap, who may have questions about the practice? The Wildlife Division's strategic plan acknowledges the need to incorporate different perspectives and expand and broaden the diversity of our beneficiaries. You, as
See,
a
this is
commission,
where
acknowledge
she's adding
responsibility
bullshit
for the
because
manner in which
when
programs
they're saying,
relate
like,
to
investors,
citizens of the
people that are
state
actually
of
buying
Michigan.
licensing that is actually supporting
There are
these
valid
animals.
concerns
Yes,
about
right? She
trapping,
doesn't
with
buy that.
calls
No,
from some
because,
for
well,
it
I
to be
don't keep
banned.
animals, I don't
Some
need that
states have
tag.
adopted
Okay,
strict
what are you doing to
regulations.
provide
Whatever
for these
one's
animals?
point of
Yeah,
view, it's
absolutely
naive
nothing.
to deny
you're
that the
not.
practice
Therefore,
raises
your say
significant questions
doesn't really
about
count. You
animal
have the right to
welfare,
say and speak your
bycatch.
mind,
In fact,
but
the
that doesn't give you the
WCO
right to
addresses
dictate
that
what we should
issue,
do.
and ecosystem disruption. Michiganders deserve a more thoughtful and thorough response from both wildlife agency professionals and this commission.
Seeing like that, that's
Instead,
correct.
we see the DNR offering up pat and superficial responses in its FAQ on the website part devoted to trapping. One of the FAQs is,
she's
quote,
not
do
wrong
you
either,
have a
but
list of talking
they
points
have
that
to be
I could
vague
use to
'cause it
promote
covers such a
trapping,
broad
end quote,
spectrum.
followed by
So it has
8
to be slightly
tips.
vague. And if you have further
We
questions
urge
on
you
anything
to
like that,
grapple
you can
with
call
these
the
issues
DNR
and
directly,
include other
and they'll
perspectives.
get you to the person
Michiganders
to
will
give
be
you the
better
right answer.
served than they are now when the official line is to provide bromides such as bullet point 3. Each state restricts which species can be trapped and which kinds of traps can be used. The trapping season lasts only a few months out of the year and rarely takes place during the spring or summer seasons when animals are busy caring for their young, end quote, or bullet point 4. Experts from all 50 state fish and wildlife agencies and other conservation groups that care about the environment, natural resources, and animal welfare are working together to improve and modernize the technology of trapping through scientific research, end quote. Apart from being condescending, it indicates that you only see one stakeholder, and that's the trappers. I urge you to broaden your perspective and to do better. Thank you. Questions?
Thank you, B. Merle Jones.
Merle, what's Merle talking about today?
I thought he was going to talk about muskrats.
Good morning, commissioners.
He is.
Muskrat trapping.
Director Craig. Council. My name is Merle Jones, and I'm from Michigan Trapper and Predator College Association, and I'm here to speak in support of Amendment 8.
Looking good. Nice and shiny.
Michigan Trapper and Predator College Association is a statewide organization of trappers. And
It would have been awesome if he did a call.
More importantly, we're the stakeholders that are actually members of the management application arm.
Yes.
Yes.
This is wildlife management. It's a responsibility we have. We all have it.
Yep.
MTPCA is seriously concerned about our ability to continue with that management application because of certain viewpoints about what management is and what stakeholders should be participating in those discussions. That being said, let's get back to Amendment 8, which we do support. And as Commissioner Walters pointed out, that was really nothing other than an oversight while we were realigning some of those management application rules. And we commend the commission and the department for taking that up and getting ahead of the problem rather than us having to deal with it later when it became, a serious issue. Because essentially what we're doing here is we're correcting, it was just an overlap of a couple days, where resources would have gone to waste due to regulations. And one of our creeds of a trapper is that we utilize every amount of resource we possibly can. We don't want to waste resources. We have to manage them, and if we can utilize them to the best of our ability, we should be able to do that. And that's what this adjustment makes. So we support it, and again, thank both the commission and the department for taking the time to give the attention to this it needs and correcting the simple oversight. Thank you.
Thank you, Merle. Dan?
All right, Merle. Jordan wants to call in. Hoover.
He does?
Yeah, I think I'll be able to add him here in a little bit as a guest.
Oh, really?
Online, yeah. See how that works. But I love this guy. He's one of my favorites.
This looks like the green one. Okay.
I didn't know he was
First
here
of all, I'm
today.
Dan Alpig, and I am authorized by my comments have been approved by leadership of the Regional Council of Carpenters and their who represent 11,000 sportsmen and women. So my comments have been approved by leadership.
Yes, we agree.
I think I just saw him on Instagram.
I appreciate the hard work of Sarah Thompson and Dr. Rudolph and the rest of the DNR regarding coming to the table with the Earn a Second Back program of 2007.
That really would have
such
surprised me.
Short order.
Doesn't seem
I
like an
ask him,
Instagram
I appreciate that.
No, this
But
guy's
who's confused?
super cool.
Who's confused?
Cheat sheet didn't help me. Did it help you? That made it more confusing to me. Has anyone heard of the KISS theory? Just asking. So many previous great concepts and ideas for regulation have been shut down by this commission due to the law enforcement division stating rules will be difficult to enforce. This program has the same problem. Now, everyone knows cheaters are going to cheat. Some people don't even buy a darn license, but ghost does and cheating the OBR means continued overharvested bucks, which is against a stated NRC goal. There's lots of concern among the public about this happening. The question was asked by Commissioner Early, I believe, 22,900 or something second bucks were harvested last year. Well, that's a big number because a lot of those bucks could have been someone's first buck if they weren't killed by Joe 2-Buck Hunter or 2-Buck Chuck is what I like to call him. But anyway, you started with good intentions with the OBR and the APRs,
2-Buck Chuck,
which would be most effective to our goals, OBR plus APRs. It continues to get watered down with over-regulation. It's just sowing confusion.
Used to be the Trader Joe's wine.
It's a classic of too many cooks spoil the soup. Now, I've been advised not to be insulting or offensive. It's really difficult to do on a lot of times here, but So in that regard, I deleted some of the comments from my presentation. Some of the words that I come up with were Poindexterish. Anybody knows who Poindexter was? It was a classic cartoon character.
Yep.
Einsteintonian. I've deleted that one. And the last one, Rube Goldberg-esque. Think the Mousetrap game. I mean, that's what a lot of this reminds me of. So after listening, I've softened my stance on the EBI pilot program. On the Earn a Buck pilot program, I've softened my stance. OBR took a long time to gain traction, and thankfully it is gaining traction. But we're doing two programs at once, and it's muddying the waters, and it's confusing everyone, and it's putting a lot of strain on the system. Now we're jumping into the EAB pilot program, which is confusing to the average hunter. While it's a noble cause, I see no reason not to delay it, because obviously this commission's been good at delaying stuff. I rescind that. I take that back. But obviously there's no problem delaying things. So why don't we make, just to avoid the confusion, this Earn a Buck pilot program in 2028? Is there a problem with that? I mean, it would let it would let $1 rule play out, is what I'm getting at, and we can get valuable data. And then why overlap them? That's the only point I have, and I'm done for today. Thank you.
When you start
Thank you,
changing
Jim.
too many
Jim.
things, it muddies up the actual scientific process to figure out what's actually
And
working and what's not.
I had that conversation with Josh a million times about pulling too many levers at once.
Thanks for the opportunity to speak to the
So
commission.
2 months
I'd like
ago,
to share a few thoughts today on deer
they
policy.
spoke about this
At the May meeting, the
meeting
commission decided to
about
eliminate the
how
January
they
extended
understand
antler
it's going to
season.
muddy it up, but they
The
have
decision
to.
to do so is
They're trying
completely
to be-
baffling to me and makes absolutely no sense from a policy standpoint. I was involved in putting together the recommendation for that season. It was passed and implemented in 2024. It was developed in direct response to Chad Stewart's 2023 plea to stakeholders to harvest more antlerless deer. It was structured as a pilot program to assess the efficacy of a January extended antlerless season and included an automatic sunset clause after the January 2027 season ended. When passed at the July 2024 NRC meeting, 6 commissioners voted in support of it, with only 1 voting no. When examining the data from the first 2 years, it's clear that this season was increasing the overall antlerless harvest in the SLP by between 5 and 10% annually. Those results are completely consistent with the department's goal to increase antlerless harvest and with the commission's stated goals as well. Despite the positive results, you decided to eliminate it in the second year of a 3-year experiment, despite its increasing antlerless harvest, and with absolutely no evidence being presented of any unforeseen adverse impact. When the reasoning behind the motion to eliminate was questioned at the May meeting, all that was offered was the vague suggestion that some stakeholders were worried that a few mature bucks who may have dropped their antlers by January may be accidentally harvested. No actual evidence was provided to back up that claim. No details were provided on why the risk of the incidental harvest of a few males should supersede the biological benefit of increasing antlerless harvest in Zone 3 by 5,000 to 10,000 antlerless deer a year. Yet despite the lack of any good reason being provided, and without the support of the department, this commission voted to eliminate the extended January antlerless season, a move which will undoubtedly have an adverse impact on efforts to reduce density in the SLP. At the same meeting, this commission voted to implement an OBR buck regulation in the entire Lower Peninsula, despite the almost total absence of any compelling biological evidence as to why this would be a good thing. You also voted to implement an Earn a Second Buck experiment, which will impact 5 counties in the SLP. All of these changes were made with almost no biological impact assessment and with no critical discussion as to what the implications these changes will have on efforts to limit the spread and prevalence of CWD in Michigan. Increasing antlerless harvest can be an effective tool in helping to combat CWD, but only if it's an additive harvest, not at the expense of reducing antler harvest. The buck regulations being contemplated, whether you're talking OBRs or APRs or Earn a Buck, will all result in a decrease in the harvest of antlered bucks, the cohort which has the highest CWD prevalence, and will also result in an increase in the frequency of yearling buck dispersal, which will accelerate the geographic spread of the disease. Instead of focusing on changing the rules to increase the number of older bucks, we need to be basing policy decisions on sound science, particularly when it comes to disease mitigation efforts. I would urge the Commission to reinstitute the extended January late antlerless season, if not for 2026, then at least in 2027. I would also urge you to embrace a much more robust science-based evaluation process when considering regulatory changes, which would include an in-depth analysis of negative outcomes involving disease before implementing any proposed changes. In closing, I suggest that you should apply that science-based standard retroactively during next spring's regulation cycle, and take another look at the OBR, which was passed prior to its implementation in 2027. In assessing the regulation process that just occurred, it's apparent that the focus was more on stakeholder appeasement than science-based policy development, and that the process is seriously flawed. I've had some conversations with some commissioners, and I'm hopefully optimistic about some ideas that are being talked about for revising the regulatory process in the future, and I look forward to future discussions along those lines. But in order for that process to be successful, it has to be based on managing the resource on sound biological underpinnings, and disease is going to play an increasingly large role in that as we move forward over the next decade. I hope that the decisions that we make moving forward reflect that unfortunate reality. And just as an aside, I also was pleased to hear about Dr. Christensen's future involvement. I hope that those discussions are going to allow for public.
You just gotta be like,
a robust manner.
this, it's better.
So, thanks.
Thank you, Jim. Michelle.
Did you just say what I think you just said?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. My brain wasn't working quick enough.
Well, we're almost caught up.
Nice.
Hello again, Commissioners, Greg and Chair Humphreys. Today I'm going to focus on the Lower Peninsula, since the topic of the day involves the whole Lower Peninsula.
Yeah.
Let's be blunt, there are no trial counties. There are no control counties. If anyone in the state is eligible to participate in earn a second buck. All there is a restriction on what counties the eligible doe can be taken in. Restricted only by driving distance and determination. This is also assuming that the honor system and the slim chance of a CO knocking on our doors keeps everyone honest. Not sure how law enforcement is going to handle that kind of extra workload either. The honor system sure works really well for the baiting dam. There will be so much noise in the data, it will be worthless. As both Commissioner Hewins and Walters, along with many others, have spoken their concern with. Hunters from all around will descend on trial counties and then disperse back across the state with no control or isolation of harvest data. You have hunters in 1 buck areas now taking 2 bucks, nothing changed.
Yep.
And at a minimum, not changing hunter harvest selection, which was one of the goals of a 1 buck rule change. Results will be muddy at best. I have read the proposal and heard the talking points, and I still don't understand how the state can even try anything like this with zero idea of how many deer are on the landscape. Sure, there are computer models that are based on harvest data, except harvest data is the number of deer killed, not the number of deer on the landscape, which is totally subjective to hunter preference and only as accurate
Skeeter
as those who report their harvest. Deer harvested does not
Which will be the first time I've heard him talk in a
animals
meeting.
on the landscape. Most importantly,
Dr.
what
Adam
does
doesn't
earn a
wanna do
second
it.
buck
He
accomplish
shied
for the
away from
correction of natural balance in the deer themselves, which was also one of our goals.
I think
At best,
Skeeter's the guy.
if
He's the
followed,
guy.
Be the mouth.
it is
He's
still
pretty
a
good at
2-to-1
talking.
harvest.
Yeah.
2 bucks, 1 doe. And at worst, it's 3 bucks and no does, since antlerless includes button bucks. So we can have 3 male
Next time
deer
we'll have to
removed
get
from the
Skeeter all jacked
population.
up on Mountain Dew and then send him in there.
1 buck tag with an extra doe tag is still better.
Get him talking. in
There is a
3x in
big
person.
difference between every hunter having a doe tag in their pocket and forcing hunters to use a doe tag in order to get a buck. You should be considering options and regulations that are
comfortable seat
proven to
next time.
correct the issues in our
Cushion.
deer herd,
Yeah. Cushions.
not perpetuate a similar harvest structure
Your
of
back
more
crack's really
bucks
good
than
when you get up,
does,
though.
or based on a state that
That
is
happens
failing to
regardless
manage
of
its
what I'm
growing
saying.
deer herd, just like we are, who also
Yeah, get
just
you one of those
recently
little
had to
donuts.
borrow money in
Sit
order to
down
keep
next
its
time.
department afloat.
I need
Sounds
more
like a
butt cheeks.
terrible role model to
But maybe
follow.
like
Maybe my unicycle.
Use tool around.
How many
Things got
of
way better
you
suspension.
drive around your local country 5 to 10 square mile regularly and observe deer? Do any of you take the initiative to go out and observe the deer numbers on the landscape for yourselves? At various times of the year, not just in the winter or in the
What's
summer?
he doing? What's he doing?
My husband and I
Why
do,
is he on his phone
on a
right
regular
now?
basis and during
He's
all
scrolling
seasons.
really fast.
We make a point
I
to
hope
observe
he's
not just
scrolling.
the deer on our hunting land, but all around our area and anywhere else we
Have a
go.
seizure or
This is
other
bigger than
things.
just our hunting land, and what we observe is not matching what is being portrayed. Is there a robust population of deer? Absolutely. But there
I don't
are
think
only certain
Commissioner Walters
properties
would
where
put
deer
up with
numbers
that
are at a level
sort of
that is
activity
clearly a
next to him.
problem. Not a whole county, and it would even be a struggle to say a whole township. But it sure sounds like a crisis coming from the farmers.
Douchebag.
We help fill crop damage permits, so we hear it
He's a human.
firsthand.
He's
Yes,
still a human.
crop damage permits are
someone's dad.
increasing, and there are hundreds
And
of
somebody's
complaints.
drunk uncle.
Yet the reality is that
someone's
only
drunk
5% of farmers across the entire state are actually applying for crop damage permits, and only 40% are being filled. That doesn't seem all that unreasonable when you put it in perspective like that. The increase could simply be from more farmers learning the permits exist, and it might not have anything to do with an increase in damage. Has there even been a survey of how and why? The assumption is that farmers should be only asking if they have significant damage, but are they? We are going on complaints of farmers that are unhappy if they see even 1 too many deer in their fields, and on
So,
policy by
when a
Michigan
farmer
Farm Bureau to only
requests
support an
kill
increase in
tags
hunter
for
opportunity,
crop damage,
not actually manage the deer.
don't
Other
they
animals
send
do
out a
significant damage to
biologist
crops, but
to
nobody is
assess-
here to complain
Not
about woodchucks.
always.
Not always.
No.
All of the blame is on
Goes
the
off
deer.
of like acreage.
Should we
and
really be putting the
all that
majority
stuff.
of
Sometimes they
influence
will.
for the
I
management
wonder
of
if
deer
they
in the
add deer
hands
density
of
to
a
that
group that
area
wants to see
as a
them
part of it,
eliminated like
Maybe,
varmints?
yeah.
Until their barrels melt or they run out of bullets.
Well, for certain
is that how it goes?
should be pretty easy to get.
Deer hunting brings. Let the $1 change work. Give it time.
Correct.
Stick this earn a second buck program in the long-term bucket where it belongs. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Rochelle. Elliot.
I'll get a little music for her. I like it.
Amateur.
It's on silent.
You get a pass. It's okay. Nate and Skeeter were screwing me over the other night. Bling, 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 bling. I'm like, okay, cool.
Oh, is that what yours is going on?
Yeah, it was
like
you and Skeeter.
I'd like to ask everybody a show of hands. Who all here has deer hunted last year? How many have shot a doe last year?
Oh, me.
How about 5 does?
No.
5 does. I'm right there. I shot
About
5.
10. How about 20 plus?
Well, that's
what I find interesting is some of the commissioners up here who last meeting were pushing for bigger and more aggressive with this earn a second buck didn't even take an antlerless deer last year. As I sit and I look at this map, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but logistics is what I do for work, and I can understand complexity, and this is complexity. Commissioner Fewens, I appreciate what you had made mention. Same with you, Commissioner Walters. I too echo, if we're going to do a fair side-by-side to see what actually does what it does, then I think that the second buck needs to be in that county that is in the earn a second buck. I live 3 miles away from the Lapeer County line. I'm 15 miles away from state land. I have farms 1 mile away from, or 1 mile into Lapeer County. So if we're looking at data, I can go to Lapeer County, fill my doe tag, come to Tuscola County, shoot 2 bucks in a 1 buck county. But the data is skewed to show that antlerless harvest is increasing in Lapeer County. Antlered harvest potentially is going to increase in Tuscola County because I don't need to shoot a doe in Tuscola County. I can just shoot in Lapeer and then move to Tuscola and shoot my 2 bucks. The whole point of the 1 buck side of things, as we had all made mention, was to balance the harvest. So I will be the first one to come up here and publicly admit I was wrong if earn a second buck works, but I'm going to have a hard time admitting that if our data is skewed. And no, I don't blame the DNR. They had a month and a half to try to figure this out. They did the best they could in a short amount of time with everything else that's going on. Commissioner Heister, you had made mention about the Zone 3 guys wanting to go to camp. Well, by the very rules and regulations they brought it up. Now, I understand that not all camps are in the UP. There's a lot of camps in the UP. I can buy a combo without the earn a second buck. I can shoot my 1 buck in Tuscola County and go to the UP and shoot a second buck at camp by the rules that you guys all allowed. So I fail to really see where we are restricting that much opportunity by not allowing guy to go to camp, because by the very regulations that you passed with NYBER, that's allowed. Now, if 86% of the second bucks are killed in county, then I don't see why we're making this big deal of allowing people to go wherever they want to go with their second tag. We are going to allow anybody to take their bonus buck tag wherever across the state for less than 20%. I don't see how we are going to hurt opportunity or any of that aspect. What we're going to do is collect fair data. What I will say, what I do know, outside of executive, the department doesn't want this. I've talked to biologists, I've talked to techs, I've talked to COs. They don't want this. This wasn't brought by we the hunters. This was brought by commissioner going to a senator, getting pressure. That's why the DNR's recommendation of the single tag being antlerless only went away.
Commissioner,
I know for a fact that Senator Cherry gave pressure, and this is where we're at.
Senator pressure.
I have a hard time accepting that because the very reason for this commission to be here was to keep politics out. At the same token,
so
I know who Chad is. I know who Sarah is.
Does
know who Brent is. I haven't met Dwayne till today.
Scientific that the amendments can't
but I
pass,
trust their
just
judgment on the
legislative?
situation, and I trust the experts. And I
it.
kind of feel like this whole earn a second buck thing
So there's
was
loopholes
a
essentially to that Prop G.
slap in the disrespect to their knowledge.
Well,
If
there's
they're
no teeth to Prop
influenced,
G.
if they're influenced
Wanting
by
something more simple,
politics, then
something
they can,
easy to understand,
basically actual
something that
legislation
they
can't
trusted
pass
would
if
make
it's
a
not
difference in
scientifically
our
sound.
antlerless harvest, because
The
that's what we're
NRC
trying to
can
do is
make
increase
amendments
antlerless. As
and
Rochelle
pass
said,
them no
under the
matter
earn a
what.
second buck, if I shoot
That's why
3
it's
deer,
important who's up there.
I'm shooting $2,
Well,
1
and
doe.
it really sucks because
Brent said at the April meeting that they would love to see a time where more years than not, antlerless harvest exceeded antlered harvest under earn a second buck. That's not going to happen, as we have seen in Virginia. What I would rather have seen, if anything, is the $1 go through and give the department 5 years to come up with a much better product in a much better way, like what Kansas has, of opening the app, taking the pictures of the deer with the tag and uploading it without putting more on our COs, who my CO has 35 shifts at Belle Isle, and we're expecting him to be able to take care of the earn a second buck. On top of that, I don't know how well that's going to do. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Elliot.
Elliot. Skeeter.
Skeeter, one of the fellow beefcakes.
He's like a micro beefcake.
It's still morning.
He is the smallest beefcake.
We needed someone to really bring
Sorry.
Skeeter
Good
in.
afternoon.
No.
Good afternoon to chairman, commissioners, director, proxy director, right? Members of the department and fellow sportsmen. I appreciate you allowing me time to speak today. My name is Skeeter Beckman. I'm the designated speaker for Rome Outdoor Podcast, who's sitting outside. Rome Outdoors Podcast reaches thousands of Michigan hunters, anglers, trappers, land managers, and outdoor enthusiasts throughout our podcast, social media, and events that we do across the state. One of our primary goals is to provide a place where sportsmen can openly discuss wildlife management, conservation, and the future of Michigan's outdoor heritage. Since the adoption of the $1 rule and the introduction of the Earn a Second Buck pilot program, we have intentionally encouraged those conversations. We've listened to hunters throughout our audience, hunting organizations, public meetings, online forums, social media discussions, and countless personal conversations. The comments I'm sharing today are not intended to suggest that every hunter shares the same opinion. They absolutely do not. Some hunters support these regulations, some oppose them, but many are just willing to wait and see what's going to be passed and what comes down the pipe for them. The comments summarize the reoccurring concerns and observations that we've consistently surfaced through these conversations. Regardless of where sportsmen stand on these regulations, one message has emerged with remarkable consistency. Conversation about more deer regulations it's been heavy on trust, the loss of trust. Michigan sportsmen understand that wildlife management is complex. They understand that it's difficult decisions that have to be made. What hunters are struggling with today is the confidence in the process itself. Sportsmen want to understand not only what decisions are being made, but why they are being made, how success will be measured, and how public input influences those decisions. Wildlife management depends on sound biological science. I think we all agree, and I've heard it repeatedly, so thank you. But successful wildlife management also depends on trust. When trust begins to erode, even good decisions become difficult for the public to embrace. Sportsmen want measurable goals. What does success look like? As hunters, we're asking for these measurable objectives. If the goal is improving the buck age structure, what is the target? If the goal is increasing antlerless harvest, what harvest level is needed by region or county? If Earn a Second Buck is being evaluated as a pilot program, what are the measurable benchmarks that we're looking to reach? And what will determine if it's a success or if it should be modified or if it should be ended entirely?
Michigan sportsmen are not asking for less science. They are asking for science that is transparent, measurable, and communicated in a way that the public can understand. When goals are clearly defined, hunters are much more likely to support difficult management decisions that you all need to make.
That's good. That's good stuff,
man.
Even if those decisions do reduce opportunity. I think we've all determined, and we've heard it here, that Michigan is not one deer herd. We've got multiple deer herds. You've got the upper peninsula, you've got the lower northern, and you've got the southern lower. Hunters recognize the differences between the severe winters, the agricultural influences, the hunting pressures, the land ownership, and we've heard about all of it. Let's see, let's get down to this part then if we got 1 minute left. During a previous commission meeting, comments were made describing hunters from one region of Michigan using language that sportsmen found very disrespectful. At that meeting, those remarks were acknowledged, or at the next meeting, those remarks were acknowledged, and something that should not have been said. However, the explanation that followed left many hunters feeling that the underlying concern had been defended rather than resolved. Whether that was intent or not, it is less important than its impact. Across conversations, those meetings, many sportsmen have expressed the exchange, reinforced an existing perception that some hunters feel dismissed, stereotyped, or not fully represented or respected during discussions that are directly affecting them. Respect is foundational to public trust.
Yeah, Skeeter, ignore that.
Hunters understand disagreement, they understand biology, and they understand difficult decisions. So this is your opportunity, whether someone supports the $1 rule or opposes it, or simply waiting to evaluate the results. There is one request that continues to unite Michigan sportsmen: communicate clearly, set measurable goals, report results openly, and continue listening. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Skeeter. That completes our pre-sign-ups, our 5 minutes.
Skeeter.
Now we're going to move down to.
Madam Chair, if I could have just a second to interject before we move on. I just want to follow up on Skeeter's comments for those who may not have been here the last few months or who may be watching via the live stream. But that's exactly to their point about, having some scientific baseline measurements in place, looking at goals and doing it by zone. That is exactly why the commission did pass the scientific deer management resolution a couple months ago and did it unanimously, is to try to get better data and then establish benchmarks on where we need to take the deer herd via zone. So that is something, and Chad referenced earlier, just kind of where that's at in the process. It's going to take a while to get there, but that is something that I believe the department and the commission is 100% working towards.
Good.
Thank you,
Hold
Commissioner.
their feet to the fire with it.
We are
Keep
now
pushing.
on 3-minute sign-up, and Paul, you're up first. Paul Sycamore.
Oh, he's going to be up baiting. Baiting. He wants baiting back.
Hi, everyone. Most of you guys know who I am. I'm Paul Sickinga, DNR watchdog. It's been a hectic couple months.
That's his
I've been
Facebook
patiently
page.
waiting. I saw on the agenda that Chad was going to make a proposal
That's great.
on baiting that you guys asked him to do. Baiting was up there in great big bold letters, never got mentioned. So we're still nowhere. We're still another month into it. I think that something needs to be done soon. We're working with the legislature. If you guys don't do something quick, you can see the handwriting on the wall. The legislature will. Both the Democratic House passed one bill and the Republican House
Holding their feet
passed
to
the
the
other
fire,
bill.
Skeeter, I like
but
it.
they're still
Yeah, man.
fighting amongst themselves.
Brandon made a
But
little
we're going to
thing
get them
about that and
together,
said, hey, we're
and we're going to
trying.
pass a bill.
Yep. Keep doing it.
And
Keep
either
doing
you
it.
guys can take
No,
care
I
of it
appreciate,
now, or you
him
can let
stepping
the
in and
legislature
saying something
make a law
afterwards,
that
saying,
might
hey,
not work
we're
for all of
in
us.
the process.
The next thing I want to move on
Yeah, we're
fast.
listening.
Next thing.
Yeah, we're listening. We're trying to do this. Chad's into it. Like, that's what we need.
Yep.
And we can't let them forget that that's what they said either.
So what part did you skip? Do you want to say it now?
Oh, yeah, let's do it.
Because we can. Yeah, well, he wants his bait.
Belly aches. So we had to skip a couple of things that we didn't have time. We went through the sportsmen want measurable goals.
Yep.
Respect, build, trust went through.
Yeah, respect builds trust.
Mm-hmm.
The opportunity before the commission. So, we did, when looking at that, we looked at the commission's statement, like their mission statement.
Yeah.
And said, what does that look like? And it's funny that in there, this vision speaks about transparency, partnership, and good governance. The transparency part is really what we wanted to get into. It's like, be transparent. Even with this wildlife order that's on the floor right now, it doesn't give a measurable goal. Mm. It doesn't say if we achieve X amount of doe take, that we will consider this a success. Yeah. So there's no measuring stick. And I think we see this pretty consistently with the NRC, especially when it's like these terms are changing. We're losing commissioners, gaining commissioners. They come into it by the time they get into the veteran side of it, like, who's the guy at the end? Walters. I like that guy. Walters, like, he's at the veteran end, and you see some more bold kind of takes on things.
Oh, yeah, I got some stuff. Perfect.
We'll grab it. Come on.
Be right back.
Yeah. Overall, that's kind of like our thing, like we touched on earlier, Tony, like how important the commissioner is, like who's sitting on the commission and their changes they can make. And like Skeeter was kind of saying, like once they're here and kind of established and starting to do stuff and learn their role, it's like, time for a new one.
And then they're out.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I mean, when you ever have, what's 3-year terms?
Yeah.
Your first year, you learn. Your second year, you're kind of get what's going on. In your third year, you're somewhat useful.
And you're voting on stuff you barely even realize.
Correct.
So. And there's obvious commissioners that are novice that don't realize what their impact is. Mm-hmm. And
as for the newest commissioner, didn't realize, hey, so what's going on? It's like, dude, you already voted on that stuff.
Yeah, you voted on
it. Got pushed through for this year,
And some of them never learn and are never effective.
Never effective.
Yeah, never effective.
Never effective. So, all right, well, I guess we can speed this up a little bit here.
Yeah.
Paul talks pretty slow, so like Paul, I like his passion. I like the 3.5.
You got press play, dog.
Well, I want to get the speed right, and then I will.
Fair, I guess.
Get the speed right.
Thing is, the DMI was a great experience for me. The Deer Advisory Team was a very poor experience.
I have some pretty funny stories about the DMI.
You guys
too.
need a
just old guy,
advisory
just
group
don't
of
care
some
no
type,
more.
and I think it should be reinstated. We were named for 3 years, and we should be brought back in, and maybe under the auspices of both of you guys, and not one or the other. It was a great way for public input. I went to many groups in my area and brought back many ideas. I changed my own opinion on reporting. Right now, I'd like to see reporting mandatory for everybody because right now the reporting sucks. Even they tell you it's 70%. And we're making all these decisions in here based on those stats. The commissioner asks for a stat. They give them a stat. It's still only 70% accurate. So we're making a lot of decisions. So if it takes mandatory for everybody, I would go for that. So that you hear from the non-successful. Right now, all you hear is from the successful. And I can tell you, in my group, they report their bucks because they want to brag. They don't report their does. That's just the way it is. They don't care. So we have to do something to get first, like Michelle said. We need to know how many deer we got in an area before we can decide what to do about it.
Like I said, he's got some
thank you guys. I know your last couple months have been very tough on you, as they were on me. My phone rings probably as much as yours does, and I appreciate the time. So thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Troy.
Oh, we must be on the 3 minutes. Yeah, we're on 3 minutes. Yep. I was gonna say that was really quick.
So who is this? This is
the guy that was out here.
What? It's not Hunter Joe. It's Troy.
Howdy,
Troy.
Commissioners. I'm back.
Sorry.
After reading the DNR,
Hunter Joe, if you're listening, I know you do. I forget what your face looks like.
We see that it lacks scientific methodology in gathering pertinent data. Allowing digital reporting without mandatory in-person check stations is crazy. You're just asking for false information. Allowing a person to earn a second buck tag in a treatment county and the ability to fill that tag in another county lacks scientific merit and common sense. It also infringes on the newly passed $1 rule in the non-treatment county of the Lower Peninsula before it's even implemented.
You'll
In
get
May-
it one day.
I will.
Excuse me.
I think we've
In
laid
May,
the
the
groundwork
NRC
to
passed
get
a
it.
new crossbow regulation
Nice
in the
foundation.
UP based on
Built a
nothing more than an
beautiful
email.
house.
What's her name again?
There was no discussion pertaining to
Mercy.
scientific viability of that request.
Mercy
It was
Terwilliger.
passed based on
Yep,
That's
emotion
a
and
fun
personal
last
wants.
name.
Unlike that request, I have not only emailed all of you, but I'm also here in person requesting amendments to the DNR proposal. There needs to be mandatory in-person check stations to earn a second buck tag.
I don't think
At the
that would be very
minimum,
helpful.
There needs to be in-person check stations in at least 2 to 3 of the treatment counties to compare that in-person data with the digital-only reporting. Expecting conservation officers who are already spread
Yeah,
thin
not
to conduct
looks.
follow-up visits. The digital reporting is nonsense. I'm sorry. When reporting for this pilot program should be done in person. It needs to be mandatory that the earned buck tag be filled in the same county in which the antlerless deer was taken to earn that tag. This is very important for gathering accurate data
Life
on
is a
an
life.
buck and not to infringe on the newly passed 1 buck rule. In my opinion, it should also be mandatory that both buck tags of the earn a buck combo license be
But she
filled
did
and
let us
reported
know that
before the
if,
second buck tag is
like,
issued.
she did listen to
As
the
I stated in my
podcast,
main
so if we
comments,
do get
the
some
current combo
one-star
tag
reviews,
system
I
allowing
think I know
people to
where
have
they
2
came
valid
from.
buck tags in their pockets at the same time is one of the most
There's a
biologically
couple
irresponsible
of things
regulations of the last
mentioned.
30
One
years.
of our guests said
Commissioner,
we're out here
I trust that you will
murdering
grant me the
does.
same courtesy as the person who
And
wrote
she
the
did
email
not
about
like that.
the late season crossbow usage in the UP.
And then
After all,
somebody
what I'm
talked about
proposing has
shooting
actual
coyotes,
scientific
wounding
basis
them,
for
and letting
accurate
them
data
run
gathering.
off.
I wonder who that was.
On another
It
note,
wasn't me.
Commissioner Isley, your
said we
colleagues all
don't
have
want
biographies
that.
posted under names on the website, while
Well,
yours
you
It
is
may
on
have been
point.
taken out of
The public
context.
deserves to know your background and
I
qualifications that led you to be
almost said
appointed to the
murderous
NRC.
again.
I'm sure many of us would appreciate your attention to that matter as soon as possible. On another
I'm
note, we got to
proficient.
talk about fishing this morning.
Yes.
You don't want that to happen.
He stared at dogs.
No,
I
I
know
like
who,
selling
about
skulls.
crappie.
I
I
know
love
who said
crappie
the
fishing
murder
through the
does.
ice.
That was Mr.
I would love to
Elliott.
see a miniature size of
He's,
that.
that's how he looks at it. Like, I'm having
Thank
to
you.
murder these
That
does.
wasn't not me.
Thank you, Troy. Bob, you're up.
Thank you, Troy. I know he works second shift, and he
You're passing. Okay.
doesn't
And
sleep
Josh.
very often on these days, and he goes to work with limited sleep. So
Last but not least.
Oh, man.
Oh, who's this guy?
who's this?
Jarsh.
Bear with me. I'm over here feel like I'm doing surgery. I'm just shaking and cold for some reason. I don't know.
We just got to feed him.
You know, after
Does he need some
the last
food?
meeting, or
said
not the last
he's
meeting, but in May, somebody sent me somebody made my face a meme that I looked shocked when the regulations came out, and I didn't think it held true. It was hilarious. I didn't really think it held true. I wasn't shocked. But the more that comes about the
I never
second
saw
buck
that
or the
meme.
second buck thing, like the meme's starting to fall in place. It's starting to fall with me. It's starting to hit. I feel like we're not going about it the right way. There's just not enough there. We're dangling a carrot on the public lands in these 5 counties. We really are. For hunters, we're starting to provide too much incentive to come down. If we can use that buck tag anywhere, that's a key component to this. If we could take our buck tag back up north to zone 2, that's a problem. And we're dangling this carrot for guys to drive down, have their deer camp, maybe early antlerless, whatever, shoot a doe in one of those 5 counties on public, not on the private and the ag fields where the problems really exist and lie, where you can drive and see 100 deer. You know, I seen this reduction when they brought early antlerless to the public years ago. It's not necessarily a bad thing, right? Less deer on the landscape is good for the landscape. We are the management tool, where the application arm is the hunter, so it's not necessarily a bad thing. But if this must go forward, I'd really like to see this as like a landowner tag, a landowner problem. They need to solve their own issues. And, you know, to Fewens' point, data is everything. Commissioner Fewens has also encouraged over and over again physical check stations. Physical check stations. Pictures in the least. We're not getting any of that. We're not getting any of that. We're getting nothing. And I think, again, it was stated a minute ago that maybe we need to go back to the drawing board a couple years down the line, figure this out if we must do it. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Josh.
Josh.
Well said.
It is 12:21,
That's
and
the
that
last one.
completes
That's a fancy shirt
public
he has.
comments
I like
for
it.
today.
Collared, button
Oop,
down,
You
mossy
can
oak.
steal that back from me.
Pearl
Commissioners,
snaps.
are you good to
Pearl
keep rolling
snaps,
through?
Mhm.
Dog.
Pearl snap
All
moss.
right, we will
Is it a
do
poncho?
so.
No,
lunch
it's
break
Drake,
today.
I think.
Drake.
Oh,
Have
straight.
you
So
seen the
it
line
is
of pearl snaps raised by
12:22. We're
coyotes?
going to head into new
They're awesome.
business.
They got possums and shit on them. They're cool.
There are
Oh,
2 items
I love
before the
possums and
director
shit.
this month.
So I
One
guess one
action
thing-
item and one for
I don't know, is there
information.
anything really important on the end of
The
this?
action item is the oil and
For
gas
us?
lease
I gotta turn this down.
results. You're going to give us a
Yeah,
full
just leave
report
it
on
so they
that,
can
right?
read it.
Yeah.
You didn't come prepared,
No,
Craig?
no.
Okay, all right, we won't do that. The second one is the land use order.
Oh, muted.
On PR.
Retarded.
Oh, you said pause it. I'm like, no. It's like you can't read it if it's paused. So anyone who's listening to this, I think we, whenever this launches, either on YouTube all the way or any segments we may go. If you have any comments or things you want us to talk about on future meetings, reach out to any of us on the Rome team and throw those on there, and we'll bring them up at the meeting. That's kind of what Skeeter was kind of laying the foundation for. That's what we want to do. We want to give a voice to people who can't be here.
That's sick.
As Skeeter's showing, what is that?
We're looking
It's pearl snap Western shirts, man. That's a freaking possum.
That is a possum. It's a small possum, but that's a possum.
It's almost like a paisley print.
Yeah.
I dig it. What are those?
Bighorns.
Fish.
Come on, do the thing.
Ooh.
Bighorns.
That look good. Look really good.
Yeah, man. Pearl snaps. Raised by
When are
coyotes.
they going to put their amendments forward here?
So they might do it at the end, or they're going to do it at the beginning of the next meeting.
Oh, that seems like a great idea.
Mm-hmm. Were the amendments brought up today?
No, not yet. That'd be at the end of this meeting if they do it.
No, I'm not talking about the approval of the amendments. I'm talking about, did they bring up changing amendments or making amendments at the beginning of today's?
I don't know. We were not
No,
live.
but on the agenda, I think that there was after public comment, there's something that they're
look on this thing.
They're looking to pass, right?
Like last time they did it. Ooh, that's a beefcake pearl snap.
Oh,
those cows? That's a beefcake.
Ribs.
Yep.
We could put a Rome logo on that shirt.
On there,
yeah,
spices,
dude.
sausage,
all kinds of stuff. Sausage.
Love me the sausage.
But anyways, Skeeter, I know how sausaged out you are over there.
Yeah.
But we just want to iterate, like, we're going to try to get a 5-minute conversation every meeting. So fellow outdoorsmen, anyone have questions, concerns, we can kind of compile them up and bring them to their attention like what we just did today. And obviously they listen because Brandon instantly said, hey, we are trying to produce some data for that for the outdoorsmen.
Yes.
I think we should all take random turns at doing it and then have everybody vote on who's the best.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Draw it.
You know what would be better is if you draw one name early and that person gets to write it and then draw another name and that person gets to present it.
They get to pick who presents. Oh, gosh, it'd be great. Essentially, oh, that's great.
Those woodchuck tacos were awesome.
Fishery committee.
It was like I told everybody like
maybe the commissioner reports. But
when I finished the tacos and I like prepped them all up and I had like 50 tacos there on that tray. And we're going to give the tacos to everybody. And then people started getting rib bones. I was like, it's like getting the bay leaf. Like, you got to do dishes.
Yeah, that's good. Real good. Tony's leaving. I mean, we're at 3 hours, so I mean, we can wrap this up if we want.
What's that?
You got any closing things you want to talk about here, Adam, before we're done?
No, I think I got it all out.
Adam got all of his stuff out, he said. So, thank you guys for listening. Do you want to quick go over closing stuff? I mean, you can look through the agenda, but
yeah, I'm just looking through the agenda to make sure that
we got some goods.
Maybe some sponsors.
Yeah, we can do it at the end.
Definitely got to hit our sponsors. Who we gonna do first? Let's like 2-0.
Yeah, 2-0, man.
Make sure that you go down to the show comments and look at those show comments and visit them. We've got codes for 2-0 Blocker Outdoors,
Whitewater fishing,
Brenton USA,
Yellowstone trail cameras, Yellowstone AI. Have you got your Yellowstone cameras up and running yet?
I have 3 Yellowstone cameras. I'm actually waiting right now for my extra battery packs to come.
Nice.
and I need to secure myself my 4th camera so I can get into their elite program. And once I'm in the elite program, then it covers a whole bunch of other things that you get when you have 4 cameras enrolled. So I definitely want to get that done. That was going to happen this week. But I went and pulled my mulch out of the woods. I have them. So if anybody wants to buy
some mulch
cameras, please get a hold of me.
Yep. The one thing I like so far about like the Yellowstone camera, because I put my first thumbs up on Saturday or Sunday, I can't remember what day. They take 12 batteries opposed to 16, which is nice. The app is very easy to navigate. I don't think my father's going to have any trouble finding trail cam pictures. And when you want to change the setting of one camera, it changes. You can have a filter on there where it changes all of them at one time, which is kind of nice. So I like the simplicity of the app, and the pictures are coming through like just standard definition is super clear and nice. So yeah, Yellowstone, you get 30% off with, or not 30% off. Adam, what percentage off do you get with Yellowstone cameras using Chronicles? 15% off for Chronicles on there. That's in the show notes. And then, Bryan, how's your vitalized plots looking?
One of them looks really good.
Yeah.
The other one looks really weedy, and almost everything has been eaten.
I had a customer that bought a bunch, and he sent me some pictures. He's like, it's only 3 weeks old. Should it look like this? I'm like, well, what's left looks really good. And I think you might have a deer problem in there. Like, it was just pretty sparse. So.
Are you saying food plots cause deer problems?
If you have too many deer, the food plot can't survive. But yes. So, but no, I'm looking. And when I got my order in for the fall stuff, so if you guys didn't reach out soon enough, I might be able to get some still for you in a pretty quick turnaround, but my order's done. But we'll be planting fall carbon load and all that stuff here by end of the month,
couple
first
weeks
week of August. So hopefully we get a bunch of rain about that time.
Yeah.
And then with those trail cameras, I did make a couple mock scrapes with DH3, the spring-summer mix, and I got does on their hind legs, I got bucks on their hind legs. Like I usually say within a week to 10 days, every buck that's summering on the property within a mile of it, I'll probably have a picture of it. So by this weekend, I'll have a pretty good idea what bucks are currently in corn opposed to beans, because I do not have a bean field this year. So my buck sightings are probably going to be down on summer pictures, but I got some corn.
I saw that you had a box of Deer Hunter synthetics that was stolen out of the back of your truck. So
someone took it.
Just keep that in mind. Someone did take it.
It's here for a reason. Trusty Arrow, we got the Ruck Puck sitting here for people to look at, but you got 10% off. Use the code ROAM. He's got a lot of cool products. Got broadhead covers. He's got foot pegs for the Trusty Arrow, the double buddy. It is a really fun thing to use, especially with 3D shooting. Or you can use it as a hunting quiver too. He says a lot of guys do that.
What kind of products does he have that you can sit on?
Yeah, he's Bryan.
A unicycle.
If he's giving me a 3D printed unicycle for Bryan. Yeah, that huge arrow, yeah. Racking my brain, find it Fred. If you're shooting summer does on crop damage permits and you want to, give an opportunity to actually reuse the venison even though it's hot, he does do some summer tracks. And Inastore.
We're gonna get with them soon.
We got it. We are going to be probably doing something that last week of July, second week of August, maybe with him.
Probably not, because
he's got a kid on the way.
Yeah, he's gonna have his kid in a second.
That dummy. He's going to make Mama all mad with a baby at home when he's playing in food plots. But yeah, we're hoping to do some stuff for Inastore here this summer for food plot stuff. Just kind of show what they have available for equipment and all that good stuff. I would love to have one of those little RTVs, those little Kubota diesel hydraulics and all that stuff. Oh, my little food plot machine. Well, that could be.
My father-in-law has one of those.
Does he?
But they're kind of slow.
They are slow. They're
not
noisy. They're not a go trail ride and whip around. That's just a workhorse. Is about all those are. But put on there and be good to go. A macro stick. Okay. I feel like I'm forgetting someone.
Max Rustic Sport Shop.
Yeah, that's what Tony was saying.
He just said.
I could barely hear you. I was like, you're saying something about a stick.
Oh, a macro stick.
Macro stick. I was like, what? Big shout out. Big shout out to him. Whitetail Wildlife
Legends Taxidermy.
Wildlife Legends Taxidermy. I picked up my European mounts. When are you going to bring your wood duck there, Tony? Come on. And you got a bear you want?
Yeah, I got a bear rug that needs to go for a soft tan. So
yeah, we got to meet up and I'll bring it up for you. Yeah, boys trip.
Boys trip.
He's got the new building kind of up and running. They got a pretty cool, a little better showroom now.
That'd be rad.
Yep.
Looks like we're wrapping up the meeting.
Meeting's done. Thank you guys. Appreciate you listening. Hopefully you like these clips that go on YouTube later.
Absolutely.
Good.
See ya.
Good job, boys.